He was clearly a rich heir, but he lived by collecting trash. He is Wu Shani. The early death of his parents made him the heir to a conglomerate, but having lost both parents, he just wanted to live a different kind of life. He moved into a rented room by himself. The high utility bills and rent made him wash his clothes by hand at home without turning on the lights, and he didn't dare to stop and make friends. Every day, he folded envelopes at his desk, but this made the trio of troublemakers in the class dislike him. Just as he was folding envelopes, the leader of the trio, Jean Moyen, pushed all the neatly arranged envelopes on his desk onto the floor while insincerely apologizing. He knew Jean Moyen did it on purpose, but Wu Shani, who knew well that time is money, paid them no mind. After Jean Moyen's trio left, he silently picked up the envelopes scattered on the floor and returned to his seat. He turned on his music, put on his headphones, and got back to work, full of fighting spirit. After school, to save money, Wu Shani went to the Swift supermarket, just because items in the frozen section had a 10% discount. Seeing only one bag of frozen dumplings left, with the speed of lightning, he snatched it before Jean Xiaojun, who was about to take the dumplings. He grabbed the dumplings and ran, successfully buying the 10% off dumplings. He didn't even realize he had snatched them from his own desk mate. But just buying discounted goods wasn't enough. After returning home, he divided the dumplings into 10 portions and put them in the freezer. He planned to take them out to eat on important days. The next day at school, Wu Shani was folding envelopes at his desk as usual. Jean Xiaojun looked at him thoughtfully, confirming that he was the one who took that bag of dumplings. Before Jean Xiaojun could speak, his friend called him to play basketball. After school, Wu Shani went to the restroom. Unexpectedly, he ran into the troublemaker trio's team-building activity. Faced with the trio's mockery, he acted as if he didn't see the three who were being ignored. Furious, they poured a bucket of water from above onto him. Wu Shani, soaked to the bone, was just glad that the finished envelopes weren't wet. But because he had to dry his hair, he was late for the supermarket's discount time. By the time he arrived, he saw Jean Xiaojun checking out with 10 eggs for 3 yuan, which should have been his. For revenge, Wu Shani took advantage of Jean Moyen being alone due to a stomach ache and quietly splashed a bucket of water on him. After doing all this, Wu Shani smiled with satisfaction. He had waited several weeks for the egg promotion, but it was all ruined because of Jean Moyen. There was no one else in the restroom at the time. Wu Shani made sure no one knew it was him before he made his move. This day, Wu Shani, who was collecting trash as usual, and Jean Xiaojun, who was passing by after school, both got a supermarket flyer. There was a buy-one-get-one free event at the supermarket. Wu Shani was very tempted, especially since he had just been paid for his part-time job today. He had already figured out how he was going to treat himself. The next second, Wu Shani froze. His wages were stolen. His eyes were glazed, and his head was buzzing. He even got his password wrong twice on the way home. In the middle of the night, a tearful Wu Shani, in order to survive, decided to take on several more part-time jobs. With no money for food, he ate free leftovers from the cafeteria. The speed at which he folded envelopes was also faster than usual. The high-intensity work made him drowsy. Who knew Jean Moyen would take advantage of this? They drew graffiti on Wu Shani's face, brightly writing Jean Moyen's name. All of this was seen by Jean Xiaojun's friend. The oblivious Wu Shani was photographed by Liu Kan, who then alerted him. Rushing downstairs to frantically wash off the graffiti, Wu Shani was certain that Jean Moyen must have found out he was the one who splashed the water. Liu Kan, who followed him, told Wu Shani that it wouldn't come off with water and thoughtfully took out sunscreen for Wu Shani to use. After washing his face, Liu Kan observed him for a while. He actually complimented Wu Shani on being very pretty. This made Wu Shani feel beautiful, but confused. Before Wu Shani could speak, Liu Kan was called away by Jean Xiaojun. He even forgot to take his sunscreen. Looking at Liu Kan's sunscreen, Wu Shani mused that Liu Kan must be a good person. During lunchtime, the teacher suddenly asked Wu Shani's class to tidy up the lab. Just as everyone was annoyed, Jean Moyen stood up and said not to worry about the lab, that Wu Shani said he could clean it up himself. Even though everyone knew Wu Shani hadn't said that, they still left the lab. Jean Moyen and his followers gave Wu Shani a provocative look and walked out of the lab. The empty lab was left with only Wu Shani. Suddenly, a coin on the corner of the table caught Wu Shani's attention. Just as he bent down to pick up the coin, he heard someone walk in. From the sound of it, a girl was pulling Liu Kan in. This girl was actually going to confess to Liu Kan. just as Wu Shani was curious about how Lu Kan would respond. He heard Lu Kan say he wasn't interested in girls. The girl who heard these words thought Lu Kan was insulting her. She left in anger. Wu Shani, shocked by Lu Kan's statement, accidentally dropped the coin in his hand. The sound of the falling coin attracted Lu Kan's attention. Discovered, Wu Shani had no choice but to stand up and apologize, while also returning Lu Kan's sunscreen to him. Having heard everything, Wu Shani originally thought Lu Kan was a good person, but what just happened made Wu Shani think Lu Kan handled it very poorly. He told Lu Kan as much, who knew Lu Kan would say that everything he said was true. Wu Shani asked back, "What's true? Do you really like guys?" Lu Kan's affirmative voice came from his side. Wu Shani was shocked. He turned around to see Lu Kan saying with certainty, "I really do like guys." Wu Shani was shocked again. He was puzzled. Why did Lu Kan tell him this so easily? After all, he and Lu Kan barely knew each other. But Lu Kan said he really liked Wu Shani and wanted to be friends with him. Once, Wu Shani also believed that friends were an indispensable part of life. While folding envelopes in the afternoon, Wu Shani was thinking about what happened in the lab. For a moment, he wasn't paying attention. The tape dispenser slipped from his hand and hit his desk mate, Jin Xiaojun, on the head. Seeing Jin Xiaojun's gaze turn towards him, Wu Shani hurriedly apologized, saying he didn't do it on purpose. Before Wu Shani could finish apologizing, Jin Xiaojun stood up and walked towards his desk. But Jin Xiaojun did nothing, just placed the tape dispenser on his desk, turned around, and left the classroom. Wu Shani thought Jin Xiaojun would be angry, since Jin Xiaojun didn't seem like an easy person to get along with. After school, the part-time job Annie, who knew Wu Shani had been robbed, very readily gave him an advance on his salary. With the experience from last time, Wu Shani hid the money in his clothes after getting paid. He could finally go to the supermarket. Arriving at the supermarket, Wu Shani looked at the signs plastered with "buy one, get one free," his eyes shining. At this moment, the money-saving expert Wu Shani didn't forget to save money. He realized that if he split the cost with someone, they could both get the items at half price. The problem was how to find someone willing to split the cost with him. Looking around the supermarket, Wu Shani saw Jin Xiaojun in front of a shelf. Wu Shani quietly followed Jin Xiaojun and saw that Jin Xiaojun was getting the exact same items he wanted to buy. As Wu Shani was thinking about how to approach him, a passing child bumped into him. Wu Shani's swaying figure made the bottles on the nearby shelf teeter precariously. Just as the bottles were about to fall, Jin Xiaojun steadied them. He looked at Wu Shani and took the initiative to ask, "Is there something you want to say?" Wu Shani suspected Jin Xiaojun knew he was following him. After a long pause, Wu Shani finally said that if the two of them split the cost, the things they bought would all be half price. The brave get to enjoy the world first. Wu Shani got his spoils with great satisfaction. Looking at Jin Xiaojun walking ahead, he silently gave him a thumbs up. Just as Wu Shani was about to reach his doorstep, he heard the rustling sound of footsteps behind him. Realizing it might be people sent by his family, Wu Shani took an onion out of his bag, turned around, but found it wasn't people sent by his family. The onion also slipped from Wu Shani's hand. The person he thought was sent by his family was actually Lu Kan. Lu Kan casually picked up the onion from the ground, surprised that Wu Shani also lived here, and Lu Kan lived right across from him. Overwhelmed with part-time jobs, Wu Shani had no idea he and Lu Kan lived so close. After returning home, Wu Shani looked at the supplies he bought at half price, feeling very happy. But Wu Shani's family was very worried about him, worried about his quality of life. His family actually quietly arranged for an unlimited supply of steak for him at school. At lunchtime, all the students were in front of the unlimited steak supply advertisement. Behind the discussing crowd, Wu Shani looked at the steak from his family's own brand and immediately realized it was prepared by his family. And Wu Shani, who hadn't eaten steak in a long time, pretended not to know and savored the long-missed steak. Wu Shani let out a satisfied burp. On the way back to the classroom, Wu Shani ran into Jin Xiaojun, with whom he had split the cost, to thank him. Wu Shani proactively held the door open for Jin Xiaojun to go first. However, it was this very act that got them both caught by a school teacher, organizing books in a library. After clearly dividing the work, the two were ready to start. But Jin Xiaojun, who had just uncapped his pen, looked up to see Wu Shani under the table. It turned out Wu Shani's pen had fallen on the floor and rolled under. This also caused Wu Shani's hair to be covered in dust when he retrieved the pen. Jin Xiaojun very naturally reached out his hand to remove the dust from his hair. On the way home from school, Lucan asked Jin Xiaojun about his whereabouts at noon. Jin Xiaojun revealed that he and Wu Shani were in the library. As the two were chatting, a person on a bike behind them was going too fast and bumped into Lucan before Lucan could fall. Jin Xiaojun skillfully supported Lucan. The drink bottle in Lucan's hand was precisely caught by Wu Shani, who was collecting trash. Wu Shani, who witnessed everything, said nothing. He just said to be careful when walking and then continued to collect trash. After finishing collecting trash, Wu Shani went to redeem the potatoes he got with his running points, because as long as the potatoes were cooked, they could be used as emergency food. After doing all this, Wu Shani started to do his laundry, but the scene he saw on the road replayed in his mind. Seemingly realizing something, Wu Shani sat up straight. The next day, Wu Shani ran into Lucan, who had accepted a handmade bracelet from another girl. Lucan, spotting him, greeted Wu Shani to chat, but Wu Shani just said hello and walked away. Lucan didn't understand what was wrong with him. The teacher from yesterday gave Wu Shani and Jin Xiaojun convenience store vouchers. This made Wu Shani feel like he had hit the jackpot. On the way back to the classroom, Wu Shani stared blankly at Jin Xiaojun beside him. Jin Xiaojun suddenly called out Wu Shani's name and said that Wu Shani's tape dispenser had fallen into his school bag because of his guilty conscience. The startled Wu Shani failed to catch the tape dispenser handed over by Jin Xiaojun. As Wu Shani bent down to pick up the tape, he heard Lucan calling for Jin Xiaojun. In that instant, Wu Shani realized that Lucan and Jin Xiaojun were dating. Thinking this, Wu Shani stood up on the spot. The unprepared Jin Xiaojun was hit directly in the nose, which started bleeding profusely. After taking Jin Xiaojun to the infirmary, Wu Shani stood guiltily at the door, annoyed at himself for causing such a mess with his sudden reaction. After all, whatever the relationship between Lucan and Jin Xiaojun was, it had nothing to do with him. After seeing Lucan come out, Wu Shani hurriedly asked about Jin Xiaojun's condition. He was relieved to hear that he was fine. Then, Wu Shani apologized to Lucan. Lucan was completely confused, not understanding why he was apologizing to him. Wu Shani hesitated, subconsciously wanting to say, "Aren't you two dating?" Lucan understood the implication in Wu Shani's words and said with a smile that it was just a misunderstanding. Just as Wu Shani was reflecting on how he had misunderstood their relationship based on one scene, he heard Lucan say that Jin Xiaojun was not like him. It was his one-sided crush on Jin Xiaojun. After returning home, Wu Shani's mind was still on the two of them. To stop himself from overthinking, he decided to numb himself with housework. Just sorting all the trash and throwing it away made him feel very satisfied. However, just as he was about to close the door, a small dog suddenly rushed in. Looking at the little dog that appeared out of nowhere, Wu Shani was a bit at a loss. Lucan, who followed behind, explained to Wu Shani breathlessly. It turned out this little white dog belonged to Lucan. To catch the dog, Lucan and Wu Shani went into the house together. After some searching, they found the dog in the bedroom. After apologizing, Lucan noticed that Wu Shani lived alone. Wu Shani didn't answer. Lucan realized he had misspoken and apologized again. At this point, Wu Shani replied that his parents had passed away, so he lived alone. After Lucan left, Wu Shani took the folded envelopes to the part-time job ante. Too many part-time jobs made Wu Shani yawn constantly. He wondered if he was pushing himself too hard. Just then, Wu Shani received a message from his uncle asking him to come back on the day of the memorial service. He didn't reply, silently putting on his headphones. This action made Wu Shani immerse in his own world, not see the red light, and start across the road directly. A hand suddenly reached out and pulled Wu Shani back. Seeing the car whiz by, Wu Shani looked back at Jin Xiaojun, who had grabbed him. Still shaken, he squatted down. This made Wu Shani realize that listening to music while walking is very dangerous. He thanked Jin Xiaojun, and then the two waited for the traffic light together. Jin Xiaojun casually asked whose music he was listening to. Wu Shani said it was Lee Sung-hwan's, but Jin Xiaojun didn't answer. Wu Shani just assumed he had never heard of Lee Sung-hwan. After returning home, Jin Xiaojun was told by his father that he had to go see his mother this week. Not wanting to go, Jin Xiaojun silently sent a message, rejecting his mother. In a gloomy mood, Jin Xiaojun opened his phone and searched for Lee Sung-hwan songs. After finding them, he put on his headphones and started listening. On the other side, Wu Shani, who had returned home, found that his cassette tape was stuck and broken. After winding the exposed tape back with a pencil, the music in the stuck section was still broken. This cassette tape and recorder were a memento from Wu Shani's mother. Wu Shani's mood was very gloomy. The next day, Jean Moyen's hair straightener kept smoking, seeming to be broken. Seeing Wu Shani walk to the classroom door, Jean Moyen curled his lips. He grabbed Wu Shani's hair and was about to use the hair straightener on it. But Jin Xiaojun, who was about to enter the classroom from behind, made Jean Moyen hastily let go of Wu Shani. After the two returned to their seats, they heard the sound of Jean Moyen's hair straightener exploding. Wu Shani carefully glanced at Jin Xiaojun, wondering if Jin Xiaojun was actually helping him. Weekend. Wu Shani used the soybean paste and vegetables given by the Annie from his part-time job to cook a pot of soybean paste stew. He thought he could treat himself well. Who knew his left foot would trip his right foot, and the soybean paste stew spilled directly onto his blanket. Not only did he not get to drink the soup, but washing the blanket required using the washing machine, which he hadn't used since moving in. Unfortunately, the washing machine was broken. In order to have a blanket to sleep under at night, Wu Shani had no choice but to carry his blanket to the laundromat. On the way, he unexpectedly saw his uncle who was looking for him. Wu Shani subconsciously lifted the blanket over his head to hide himself. All of this was seen by Jin Xiaojun, who was also coming to the laundromat. Looking at the high laundry fee, Wu Shani paid with a trembling hand. While waiting, Wu Shani discovered that the laundromat was actually playing Lee Sung-hwan's music. Listening to the familiar song, Wu Shani fell asleep. When he woke up, he found that the blanket was already folded and placed on the table in front of him. And his uncle's message came again. This time, it was actually asking Wu Shani to return to his original life. When it rains, it pours. The next day, while wondering why there were so many things to prepare for the memorial service, Wu Shani was bumped by another student and his phone flew right out of his hand. Wu Shani, who had nothing, couldn't afford to lose his phone too. The next moment, the silently praying Wu Shani saw Jin Xiaojun catch his phone as if catching a ball. Having gotten it back, Wu Shani was instantly revived. To thank him, Wu Shani gave Jin Xiaojun an orange. But Jean Moyen, who couldn't stand Wu Shani, started making trouble again. The cassette tape, which had been stuck once, was making a strange noise during playback, so Wu Shani took it out to check. Jean Moyen snatched the cassette tape directly from Wu Shani's hand. For the sake of the tape, Wu Shani got angry for the first time. Seeing Wu Shani's angry eyes, Jean Moyen looked as if he had discovered a new continent. He directly pulled the tape out with his hands. Looking at Jean Moyen, who had ruined the tape, Wu Shani angrily pushed Jean Moyen against the wall, staring at him intently. Jean Moyen, not knowing what Wu Shani wanted to do, was stunned. But Wu Shani just snatched his cassette tape back from his hand, turned around, and went back to his seat. Jean Moyen wanted to continue causing trouble, but the other students in the class finally couldn't stand it anymore and spoke up to stop him. The others' arguments didn't affect Wu Shani at all. Right now, he just wanted to fix the tape as soon as possible. But even though he carefully wound the pulled-out tape back in, the sound quality in several places was still damaged. Wu Shani sighed helplessly. Liu Kan, who was on his way home, happened to hear him sigh and asked what had happened. Wu Shani didn't answer, but instead asked Liu Kan why he was alone. Liu Kan said that Jin Xiaojun had been dragged away by a senior to clean up the gym. As he spoke, Liu Kan saw Wu Shani put on gloves, preparing to collect trash. Feeling curious, Liu Kan wanted to collect trash with him. Just as Wu Shani was about to refuse, he heard someone call his name. The person who came was actually Wu Shani's former best friend. Because Wu Shani left in a hurry and changed his phone number, they couldn't contact him at all. Looking at Liu Kan next to Wu Shani, they subconsciously assumed Liu Kan was Wu Shani's boyfriend, who knew that Wu Shani didn't pay any attention to them, but instead pretended not to know them and walked away. Liu Kan also followed him. During class break, Wu Shani, who never won anything, actually won the 5th prize. Looking at the prize-winning screen, Wu Shani was very satisfied. Wu Shani felt that even god-level handsome guys like Liu Kan and Jin Xiaojun couldn't compare to this prize. After all, the prize was a cooking oil set. After the excitement, Wu Shani went to the supermarket to buy food for the memorial service. He happened to come across a 50% discount on beef. Thinking of the soup needed for the memorial service, Wu Shani decided to buy some meat to put in the soup. Looking at the crowd queuing in front, Wu Shani took a deep breath, rolled up his sleeves, and squeezed in. He managed to get a portion of beef only with great effort. But everyone in the crowd wanted to get the discounted meat. This caused Wu Shani to be stuck in the crowd, unable to move. Jin Xiaojun, who happened to come to buy meat directly, reached out and rescued Wu Shani from the crowd. Looking at the coincidentally appearing Jin Xiaojun, Wu Shani was a bit dazed. Jin Xiaojun opened his mouth and asked him if he had gotten the beef. Speaking of beef, Wu Shani came back to his senses. He waved the beef in his hand as if showing off, indicating that he had gotten it. At checkout, Wu Shani found that he didn't have enough money. While thinking about what items to put back, Jin Xiaojun proactively helped Wu Shani pay for the rest of the items. Faced with Wu Shani's refusal, Jin Xiaojun just said he was lending it to Wu Shani and he could pay it back when he had money. After returning home, looking at the things he bought today and thinking about his debt-ridden wallet, Wu Shani was glad that he didn't have to pay rent now. Suddenly, the lights in the room went out. Seeing that the lights in other buildings were on, Wu Shani wondered why there was a power outage when he had paid the management fee. Puzzled, Wu Shani pushed the door open, ready to go and find out. He opened the door and saw Liu Kan outside as well. It turned out there was a problem with the wiring in their building, and the power was out. In the midst of their chat, the circuit was repaired and the power came back on. The Annie who came out to call Liu Kan home for dinner saw Wu Shani and directly invited him to eat together. The Annie was very curious why Wu Shani lived alone and asked why his parents weren't around. Just as Wu Shani was about to answer, Liu Kan stopped his mother's questioning. After the warm dinner, Wu Shani said goodbye to Liu Kan's family and returned to his own home. The next day, it started raining on the way to school. Jean Moyen, who forgot his umbrella, felt unlucky. Seeing a student in the school uniform ahead, Jean Moyen walked up, planning to share an umbrella to get to school. Who knew this person was actually Wu Shani? Knowing he was in the wrong, Jean Moyen was too embarrassed to say the words, "Let's share an umbrella," and just walked away. Who knew that Wu Shani would grab Jean Moyen? Grabbed by Wu Shani, Jean Moyen struggled hard to break free, but unexpectedly, Wu Shani's strength was very great and he couldn't break free. Wu Shani pulled Jean Moyen directly under the umbrella, and the two of them went to school sharing the umbrella like that. After arriving at school, not only did Jean Moyen not thank Wu Shani, he even complained that Wu Shani acted on his own. Faced with Jean Moyen's complaints, Wu Shani paid him no mind and went to the classroom. Today, Wu Shani's efficiency in folding envelopes was very high. Looking at the already folded envelopes, Wu Shani thought to himself that he could prepare well for the memorial service today. Liu Kan, who came from behind to find Jin Xiaojun, suddenly spoke up, saying he was very envious of Wu Shani for being able to be Jin Xiaojun's deskmate. Wu Shani didn't understand. The person who was always with Jin Xiaojun was Liu. Hearing him say that, Liu Kan was secretly hurt, because even when he was by Jin Xiaojun's side, he couldn't do anything he wanted to do. And the already shining Liu Kan made it hard for people in the class not to notice. Seeing the two of them chatting, others began to speculate about his relationship with Wu Shani. Hearing these words, Liu Kan proactively said that he and Wu Shani were very good friends. Looking at Liu Kan making a V sign at him, Wu Shani didn't understand why he said that. After school, Jin Xiaojun, who was buying coffee at the supermarket, happened to see the police talking to Wu Shani about the robber. He walked up and asked what happened. Wu Shani replied that it had been a while. Looking at Jin Xiaojun, Wu Shani held up 3 fingers, indicating he would pay back the money in 3 days. Jin Xiaojun was not in a hurry, but Wu Shani said he couldn't stand being in debt to others. Jin Xiaojun, however, said the amount wasn't large and he could pay it back slowly. But Wu Shani felt that only after paying it off could he sleep peacefully. The helpless Jin Xiaojun had to accept. After returning home, Wu Shani began to prepare the food for the memorial service. Although the process was not very smooth, the result was good. After placing the prepared things on the table, Wu Shani bowed to the photo frame. Just like that, Wu Shani lay directly in front of the table until the next morning. Looking at the burnt-out incense and the glaring sunlight, Wu Shani lamented, if only morning would never come. Because he didn't sleep well at night, Wu Shani spent the entire break with his head on the desk. And because the school library was getting new books, students needed to fill out application forms. When the form was passed to Wu Shani, with dark circles under his eyes and a listless spirit, Wu Shani startled Jin Xiaojun and the student in charge. Faced with their concern, Wu Shani just wanted to sleep a little longer. However, because he was too sleepy, Wu Shani's head hit the desk directly. When Wu Shani lay down again to sleep, Jin Xiaojun spread his own school uniform on Wu Shani's desk. Looking at the sleeping Wu Shani, Jin Xiaojun silently sat back in his seat. To pass the exam, Jin Xiaojun and Lu Kan went to the library to study. Looking at Jin Xiaojun's side profile, Lu Kan picked up his pen and framed it, perfect like a painting. But Jin Xiaojun, who saw this action from the corner of his eye, directly grabbed Lu Kan's hand. Looking at Jin Xiaojun's face so close, Lu Kan blushed, but Jin Xiaojun just took the pen from Lu Kan's hand. This was all because Jin Xiaojun remembered Wu Shani getting his face covered in graffiti by Jin Moyan. He thought Lu Kan wanted to draw on his face too. Lu Kan hurriedly explained that he wasn't going to do that. Then what were you going to do? Jin Xiaojun pressed. Lu Kan couldn't answer. Looking at Lu Kan's reaction, Jin Xiaojun thought he had guessed right. The two parted on bad terms. Weekend, Wu Shani, who was taking out the trash, ran into Jin Xiaojun. He hurriedly explained that he hadn't paid back the money because his part-time pay was delayed. But Jin Xiaojun explained that he was just looking for Lu Kan relieved. Wu Shani let out a sigh. Lu Kan, who opened the door, was very surprised by Jin Xiaojun's sudden visit. Jin Xiaojun just said, I missed Lu Kan's younger brother and his dog. But Lu Kan's brother and his mom had gone to the supermarket and weren't home. But Jin Xiaojun, holding the dog, said, it's okay, you're here. It turned out Jin Xiaojun had come to apologize to Lu Kan. After the two finished eating instant noodles, Jin Xiaojun explained that he had overreacted only because he saw how badly Wu Shani had been drawn on. Lu Kan helplessly said he had no intention of drawing on him. With a bit of back and forth, the two made up. After cleaning up the trash, Jin Xiaojun mentioned that on his way, he saw Wu Shani taking out the trash. Lu Kan couldn't help but marvel at Wu Shani's diligence. In the midst of his gunka, he accidentally let it slip that Wu Shani lived alone. Jin Xiaojun didn't understand why Wu Shani would live alone, just as he was worrying about how to answer. Lu Kan's mom came back. This allowed Lu Kan to escape. Jin Xiaojun, who was heading home after saying goodbye to Lu Kan, found that Wu Shani was rummaging through the trash can for something. He walked up and asked Wu Shani, did you lose something? Wu Shani replied, a supermarket points coupon. He had been saving this coupon since last year, but now he couldn't find it. He wasn't sure if he had thrown away with the trash. Just as Wu Shani was recalling, Jin Xiaojun suddenly reached his hand through Wu Shani's hair and got the points coupon hidden in his hat. Looking at Jin Xiaojun, who had found the coupon, at this moment, whether it was the sunlight or something else, Wu Shani felt that Jin Xiaojun seemed to be glowing. The joy of recovering what was lost made Wu Shani feel that Jin Xiaojun was his lucky boy. Having found the coupon, Wu Shani immediately went to the supermarket to exchange it for toilet paper. Just as Wu Shani was preparing to go home, a passing part-time job Annie brought good news. It was a dumpling tasting event. The Annie needed someone to fill in for her, and Wu Shani immediately stepped up, thinking that he could also get a bag of dumplings afterward. Wu Shani worked hard to attract customers. Who knew? A little girl would actually grab onto Wu Shani's clothes. Wu Shani picked up a dumpling and handed it to her, but this little girl actually didn't want it. Just as Wu Shani and the little girl were in a standoff, Jin Moyan came chasing after her. It turned out this little girl was Jin Moyan's sister. Even though Jin Moyan came over, the little girl still didn't let go of Wu Shani's clothes. The exasperated Jin Moyan directly picked up his sister and ran. After the shift ended, thinking about the wages that were about to be paid and the dumplings he had just gotten, Wu Shani felt like he had suddenly become a rich man. As he was walking on the road, Wu Shani saw Jin Xiaojun standing in front of a pharmacy. To thank Jin Xiaojun for helping him find the points coupon, Wu Shani decided to give the dumplings to Jin Xiaojun. While thinking, Wu Shani ran towards Jin Xiaojun. Hearing Wu Shani's voice, Jin Xiaojun turned his head sharply and was directly hit in the face by the dumplings in Wu Shani's hand. The solidly frozen dumplings, with their momentum, gave Jin Xiaojun a direct blow. The hit Jin Xiaojun knelt on the ground. Looking at Jin Xiaojun, Wu Shani hurriedly took out his phone, preparing to call an ambulance. Jin Xiaojun just reached out, took the dumplings, and even burped. This blow made Jin Xiaojun, who was feeling unwell in his stomach, recover instantly. Taking the dumplings, Jin Xiaojun said that this bag of dumplings would count as repayment for the money. Before Wu Shani could object, he took the dumplings and left. The next day, Wu Shani directly took the money and returned it to Jin Xiaojun. The moment the debt was cleared, Wu Shani felt a sense of relief all over. Just as Wu Shani was about to return to the classroom, the sole of his slipper cracked. The cracked half of the sole flew straight towards Jin Xiaojun's head. Fortunately, Jin Xiaojun was quick-eyed and caught it. Looking at the broken, an irreparable slipper, Wu Shani was very unhappy. Looking at Wu Shani and thinking of the unworn slippers in his shoe cabinet, Jin Xiaojun took them out and gave them to Wu Shani. Looking at Wu Shani's small feet wearing his slippers, Jin Xiaojun thought for the first time that a girl's feet were actually so small. Back in the classroom, Wu Shani continued to fold envelopes. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew the envelopes on Wu Shani's desk all over the floor. Wu Shani scrambled to pick up the envelopes. However, one envelope was blown onto a tree outside the window. In order not to let his hard work turn into trash, Wu Shani leaned out of the window as far as he could. But the ill-fitting slippers caused Wu Shani's foot to slip at that moment. Unprepared, Wu Shani fell straight down. This scene happened to be seen by Jin Xiaojun, who was going to play ball with a senior. He quickly ran down and caught Wu Shani. The two fell to the ground at the same time. Looking at Jin Xiaojun, who had caught him, Wu Shani just felt that he had said sorry to him many times. But thanks to him, Wu Shani was not injured. After confirming he was okay, Jin Xiaojun told Wu Shani to be careful and went to play ball. But the unorganized envelopes in the classroom were blown away again, all ruined. That night, Jin Xiaojun had a nightmare. The next day at school, Jin Xiaojun stared at Wu Shani's feet wearing his slippers. Because he hadn't slept well, the first second Lucan saw Jin Xiaojun, he noticed his dark circles. Lucan was puzzled. Jin Xiaojun, who usually fell asleep as soon as his head hit the pillow, could actually have a nightmare. Curious, Lucan asked what the nightmare was about. Jin Xiaojun thought about the dream where Wu Shani, wearing his oversized slippers, ran on his head all night and was too embarrassed to tell Lucan, looking at the severely headache-ridden Jin Xiaojun. Lucan patted his own shoulder and said, "Then you can lean on my shoulder." But Jin Xiaojun reached out, turned Lucan around, and leaned on Lucan's back, feeling Jin Xiaojun's body temperature. Lucan felt so warm. During class, Wu Shani was listening drowsily and almost fell. Startled awake, Wu Shani looked at Jin Xiaojun staring at him and felt very uneasy. After school, Wu Shani put on his gloves as usual and started collecting trash. Who knew someone had spit gum on the ground? Squatting down, the hardworking Wu Shani ran into Lucan again. A confession, a rejection, and an angry departure. Seeing Wu Shani peeking, Lucan said helplessly that even if he told the truth, no one would believe him. But Wu Shani just thought Lucan was popular. Wu Shani suggested Lucan try confessing to Jin Xiaojun. Lucan directly said he would be rejected. At the market, Wu Shani was calculating the money in his hand, preparing to buy rice. He looked up and saw the company's lawyer. The nervous Wu Shani turned around immediately. He was afraid the lawyer had come with his uncle. The nervous Wu Shani couldn't move at all. He just wanted to escape from here as soon as possible. Who knew he would bump into Jin Xiaojun, who had come to find his father? Looking at Wu Shani's trembling body, Jin Xiaojun asked, "Can you still walk?" Wu Shani replied, "No." Jin Xiaojun proactively let him grab his arm and said, "Let's go." Jin Xiaojun looked back at the auntie waving vigorously at him, said nothing, and just pulled Wu Shani away. After leaving the market, Wu Shani let go of Jin Xiaojun and forcefully hit his own head, wanted to pull himself together. Jin Xiaojun raised his hand to stop Wu Shani's hand. Wu Shani looked up at him, puzzled. Jin Xiaojun very naturally put his hand over his head, shielding him from the sun. Noticing his own abnormality, Wu Shani went to the hospital to see a doctor. The doctor told Wu Shani that he had an anxiety disorder. The short amount of sleep time made the doctor very worried about Wu Shani. The doctor suggested that Wu Shani extend his sleep time, but this was too much of a luxury for Wu Shani. Wu Shani had taken on too many part-time jobs. He even needed to pull all-nighters to finish them. He was clearly a rich heir, but lived by collecting trash. He is Wu Shani. The early death of his parents made him the heir to a conglomerate. But having lost both parents, he just wanted to live a different kind of life. Looking at the large amount of part-time work left, Wu Shani could only work through the night. The experiences of the day and the busyness of the night made the passed-out Wu Shani dream of his past life. But even though he didn't sleep well because of the dream, Wu Shani still got up early. He heated up the previously frozen potatoes for breakfast. After getting everything ready, he put on his gloves and went out to collect trash. While collecting trash, Wu Shani saw a bill in the middle of the road that someone had dropped. Looking at the money, Wu Shani was at a loss. Liu Kan, passing by on a bus, saw Wu Shani and got off. He wanted to go to school with Wu Shani. Seeing Liu Kan, Wu Shani felt as if he had seen a savior. He took out the money he had just picked up and asked Liu Kan, "Is there no way to find the owner of this money?" Looking at Wu Shani's expectant face, Liu Kan smiled and said that the owner of this money would definitely not be found, and he felt that it was no problem for Wu Shani to keep it. Hearing the affirmative answer, Wu Shani was extremely happy. Looking at Wu Shani, smiling foolishly at the money, Liu Kan just thought he was so cute. Finally, Wu Shani contentedly stuffed the money into his pocket. In school, Jin Xiaojun, who was buying a drink, thought about the scene of Wu Shani trembling yesterday, very puzzled. After all, there was nothing around at that time. Could it be that he saw something he couldn't see? Thinking of this, Jin Xiaojun broke out in a cold sweat. Back in the classroom, Jin Xiaojun saw Wu Shani talking to the air, which further confirmed his suspicion. Wu Shani can see ghosts. But in reality, Wu Shani was just trying to drive away a mosquito. The still shaken Jin Xiaojun had just sat down when Liu Kan suddenly appeared and started talking to Wu Shani. Looking at the working Wu Shani, Liu Kan asked Wu Shani, "Why are your slippers so big?" Wu Shani explained that his had broken, and these were Jin Xiaojun's. To prove that there was no problem walking in these slippers, Wu Shani swung his legs to show that it was completely fine, but the slipper flew off directly. Later, after Wu Shani finished with the trash, he was looking at the supermarket's promotions in the hallway. Suddenly, a foot stuck out from the corner and tripped Wu Shani. Looking at Jin Moyen, who had stuck out his foot to trip him, Wu Shani directly picked up the trash can and put it on his head. The exasperated Jin Moyen directly grabbed Wu Shani's hair, and the two started fighting. After being caught, Wu Shani and Jin Moyen were punished by having to wipe the office windows. While the two were wiping the windows, two female upperclassmen came over and asked Jin Moyen for pocket money. And Jin Moyen, who was arrogant and domineering in front of Wu Shani, was meek and submissive in front of these two. On the other side, Jin Xiaojun, who was walking home from school with Liu Kan, suddenly asked Liu Kan if he believed there were ghosts in this world. Liu Kan said that compared to ghosts, he was more inclined to believe in aliens. Jin Xiaojun helplessly told Liu Kan that he recently felt there might really be ghosts. Liu Kan was puzzled. Jin Xiaojun said it was because of Wu Shani. Just as Liu Kan was asking what about Wu Shani, Jin Xiaojun suddenly clammed up about the matter. This made Liu Kan feel that Jin Xiaojun was retaliating against him, as he had done before. But Liu Kan just didn't want to casually reveal someone else's privacy. Realizing that the two of them had been mentioning Wu Shani a lot recently, Liu Kan found it a bit novel. After all, Jin Xiaojun usually didn't care about the things around him. Just as Liu Kan was speaking, Jin Xiaojun suddenly ran forward. Not knowing what had happened, Liu Kan was very puzzled. Then he saw Jin Xiaojun lift Wu Shani up. Wu Shani was very confused about why Jin Xiaojun would do that. Then he saw Jin Xiaojun say with a serious face, "It's dangerous." Wu Shani just wanted to clean up the trash floating on the water surface. But Liu Kan said this river was very deep and particularly dangerous. Wu Shani looked innocent because he was not aware of this situation. And before that, Wu Shani had only tested the water temperature before being lifted up by the rushing Jin Xiaojun. Only then did Liu Kan understand why Jin Xiaojun had run. Wu Shani explained that it might be because he had done too many foolish things, just like that time. Wu Shani looked at Jin Xiaojun and promised to be more careful in the future. Jin Xiaojun nodded, but after returning home, Lucan kept thinking about what Wu Shani had said. He was curious about what had happened between Jin Xiaojun and Wu Shani back then. Jin Xiaojun actually had a secret he didn't know about. He was clearly a rich heir, but he lived by collecting trash. He is Wu Shani. The early death of his parents made him the heir to a conglomerate. But having lost both parents, he just wanted to live a different kind of life. Just as Liu Kan was spacing out in his room, a strange sound came from outside the room. The curious Liu Kan opened the door and found it was Wu Shani. It turned out Liu Kan's mom had invited Wu Shani over to make knife-cut noodles. Seeing Wu Shani kneading dough with his face covered in flour, Liu Kan said, "Why didn't you call me?" Wu Shani said he had already finished kneading. With nothing else to do, Liu Kan invited Wu Shani to visit his room. Wu Shani was very surprised to see the wall full of trophies. To see the awards clearly, Wu Shani stepped back. He accidentally stepped on a mat. Seeing the swaying Wu Shani, Liu Kan reached out and supported him. Just then, Liu Kan's mom opened the door and called the two out to eat. Seeing this scene, she froze and said, "The pot is boiling over," telling them to come out quickly. Wu Shani felt the situation was a bit strange, but Liu Kan said not to worry. His mom knew he liked Jin Xiaojun. After dinner, Wu Shani went to deliver the paper bags he had made to the part-time job Annie. The Annie not only didn't blame Wu Shani for not doing a good job, she also gave all of her daughter's clothes to Wu Shani. But the part-time job Annie was going abroad. This meant Wu Shani had no source of income. Back home, Wu Shani looked at the bills and felt worried. To find a job, Wu Shani took the business cards he had made and went to the market. But after a day of handing out business cards, Wu Shani didn't receive any news of anyone wanting to hire him. Just as he was about to take the elevator upstairs, Jin Xiaojun walked in. Looking at Jin Xiaojun, Wu Shani asked, "Are you going to Liu Kan's place?" Jin Xiaojun said yes. They had planned to play games together. As the elevator ascended, a buzzing sound was heard. Wu Shani joked, "Could it be that there's a ghost in the elevator?" Just then, Wu Shani noticed the elevator was shaking a bit. He said, "Could it really be?" Jin Xiaojun was so scared he mentally chanted, "There are no ghosts in this world." Then the lights in the elevator went out, and the elevator stopped. Wu Shani was pressing the call button, while saying, "This sound seems to be the voice of a female ghost." He looked curiously at Jin Xiaojun, preparing to ask him, who knew Jin Xiaojun's body was stiff and he was sweating profusely. Wu Shani hurriedly asked Jin Xiaojun what was wrong. Jin Xiaojun silently wiped his sweat and forced himself to say he was fine. But Wu Shani still felt Jin Xiaojun was very strange. Jin Xiaojun asked Wu Shani if he saw something. Wu Shani asked back, "What did I see?" Jin Xiaojun said, "Nothing." Looking at Jin Xiaojun like this, Wu Shani felt a strange sense of familiarity. Could it be that he has anxiety like me? Seeing Jin Xiaojun about to call the emergency center, Wu Shani imitated what Jin Xiaojun did last time. Raised his arm and said to Jin Xiaojun, "Grab on." Jin Xiaojun suddenly wasn't scared anymore and waved his hand, saying, "No need." But Wu Shani thought Jin Xiaojun was just putting on a brave face. He moved closer and held Jin Xiaojun's hand, telling him to take a deep breath. Jin Xiaojun had no idea what Wu Shani was talking about. Wu Shani continued, "You don't have to be afraid. You're not alone now. I'll help you." Hearing Wu Shani say he had an anxiety disorder, Jin Xiaojun opened his mouth to ask something. Just then, the elevator suddenly shook. Seeing the unsteady Wu Shani, Jin Xiaojun grabbed his hand. The next moment, the lights came on and the elevator started moving normally. Looking at Jin Xiaojun holding his hand, Wu Shani pulled away and said to Jin Xiaojun, "If the symptoms get worse, just tell me. I know a doctor." Jin Xiaojun explained that Wu Shani had misunderstood. He didn't have an anxiety disorder. Arriving at Liu Kan's place, Jin Xiaojun thought about Wu Shani's strange behavior. Only then did he realize it was all because of an anxiety disorder. He took out his phone and started searching. Wu Shani hadn't left his room for several days. The young maid was worried he would faint from not eating. He had been in his room all this time, but there was no sound at all. The worried housekeeper had no choice but to break down the door, afraid that something had happened to him. They broke open the door. The scene before them made them freeze. The beautiful hair he had grown for years was randomly cut off by Wu Shani with a pair of scissors. Because he had no part-time job, Wu Shani had nothing to do. He spent his rest time sleeping. Wu Shani dreamed of his past again. Startled awake by the dream, he woke up. He stared in astonishment at the table full of snacks. "They're all from our classmates," Jin Xiaojun answered his question. It turned out that while Wu Shani was sleeping with his head on the desk, his classmates heard his stomach rumbling and all took out snacks for him. Jin Xiaojun urged him to go to chemistry class. Wu Shani asked him why he hadn't left yet, and urged Jin Xiaojun to hurry to class and not be late. Otherwise, he would have to stand in the hallway as punishment. Seeing Wu Shani take his textbook to go to class, Jin Xiaojun got up and followed. Jin Xiaojun followed behind Wu Shani unhurriedly. In fact, he hadn't gone because he was waiting for him to wake up. After school, Wu Shani's former best friends came to the school gate, determined to see Wu Shani. As they waited, they discussed his unlikable personality. Suddenly, Wu Shani appeared. "You guys follow me." The best friend explained that he had cut off all contact and ignored them, even hiding, so they had no choice but to come to the school to find him. Wu Shani didn't answer. The best friend then suggested going to a cafe to sit and chat, that the atmosphere would be better. "Sorry, I have nothing to argue with you about. For making things like this, I'm just a fool." Wu Shani's eyes were filled with regret, his eyes slightly red as he said, "I miss you guys too." The best friends couldn't understand what Wu Shani said. He clearly said he missed them, but he told them not to meet again in the future, making Li Juan cry sadly. Park Yun, he could only comfort Jen, saying, "Don't cry." The next day at school, Jin Moyan's follower told Wu Shani that the security guard wanted him to help clean the warehouse. Wu Shani put on his gloves and went over, also thinking of checking on the small tomatoes he had planted. When Wu Shani arrived at the warehouse, he didn't see the security guard and was pushed in from behind. As the door was about to close, Wu Shani saw through the crack the evil, gloating smiles of Jin Moyan's trio. Jin Moyan locked the warehouse door without hesitation. Even though the warehouse had no electricity and no water, and school was about to end, Jin Moyan had no intention of opening the door for Wu Shani. After school, Lucan bought movie tickets and was looking for Jin Xiaojun to watch a movie together. Jin Xiaojun was just standing in a daze in the classroom. Lucan asked what was wrong. Jin Xiaojun was puzzled that Wu Shani hadn't come to the last class. His school bag was still there. She definitely didn't leave early. So where did she go? Lucan remembered the conversation between two female students who passed by. No one usually goes to the abandoned warehouse. She must be very scared by herself. He told Jin Biaojun about the conversation. They guessed the abandoned warehouse was in the corner of the baseball field. Without another word, the two of them ran out. On the other side, Wu Shani was calmly moving floorboards, planning to stack them up to make a bed to sleep on. The sound of a lock turning made Wu Shani wonder who had come. It turned out to be Jin Biaojun and Lu Kan, who had run all the way. They saw Wu Shani sitting on the floor. Lucan said with relief, "It's good that you're okay." But Jin Biaojun immediately rushed in. He took out a paper bag from somewhere and put it directly over Wu Shani's mouth and nose. Jin Biaojun used the 3-step first aid for anxiety attacks he learned online, teaching Wu Shani how to regain her breathing. Lucan was even more curious where Jin Biaojun's paper bag came from. Wu Shani was almost suffocating, with the paper bag held tightly over her face. After they learned about Jin and Moya's prank, they decided to escort her home and were surprised by her base. Lucan still wouldn't give up, pestering Jin Biaojun about why he carried a paper bag with him. Wu Shani quickly answered, "I have an anxiety disorder." Jin Biaojun had seen Wu Shani several times when her limbs would stiffen, causing her to be unable to breathe. "You heard I was locked up and were afraid I'd have another attack. So you did that, right? MHM, if you have any difficulties in the future, don't face them alone. We will help you." Lucan looked at Wu Shani and said, "I'm on your side." Wu Shan, he turned to look at them. Their smiles gradually blended into the gentle breeze. By evening, since Wu Shani had no source of income, she could only rely on walking more to earn points. Just then, a luxury car stopped in front of her. As her legal guardian, her uncle had finally found her. Her uncle knew that Wu Shani lived here because she missed the time she spent with her parents. He hoped Wu Shani would live a better life and was worried she wouldn't use the money in the card. Wu Shan, he just listened quietly without saying a word. After getting out of the car, Wu Shani seemed to have made some kind of resolution. Her hand was no longer trembling like before. The next day at the 23 convenience store, Wu Shani received her first Godspeed order. After school, she went to the convenience store to work as a substitute cashier. But she always encountered minors trying to buy cigarettes and alcohol, who would then act roguishly and try to cause trouble. Because of the previous robbery incident, Wu Shani had become familiar with the local police officers. The boy who wanted to cause trouble heard the police's voice and immediately fled in panic. The police officer, feeling guilty for not catching the culprit who robbed Wu Shani, always took special care of her whenever he saw her. Jean Biaojun and Lu Kan, who had just entered the convenience store, saw everything that had just happened. After buying 2 cup noodles, Lu Kan said that if the police officer hadn't been there, he would have rushed up. Afterwards, they found a place to sit in the convenience store and started eating their cup noodles. Lu Kan was hungry and slurped his noodles directly. The instant noodle broth splashed out. Jean Biaojun saw it on him and went over to wipe it off for Lu Kan. He didn't wipe it clean. He turned Lu Kan's face towards him to check. Lu Kan just stared intently at Jean Biaojun. After wiping, they continued to eat their instant noodles with great chemistry. Walking out of the convenience store, Lu Kan asked Jean Biaojun how Wu Shani knew the police officer. Jean Biaojun said that her robbery case was probably handled by those 2 officers. For someone who had been robbed for the first time, Lu Kan thought Wu Shani's experience was remarkable. But no matter what she encountered, she could only face it alone. Lu Kan did not say this out loud. Jean Biaojun responded, "That's why I can't help but pay attention to her." Jean Biaojun found that whenever he saw Wu Shani, he worried something would happen to her. He compared Wu Shani to a child, like leaving a child by the water. But Lu Kan said, "You're not her father." After returning home, Lu Kan kept thinking about why Jean Biaojun would say such a thing. He recalled that Jean Biaojun had saved a small bag before and would even take an injured bird to the hospital. After thinking it through, the answer he got was that Jean Biaojun was too kind. Jean Biaojun, getting his brother's affirmative answer, believed even more in his love. Wu Shani, who lived across the way, was especially dejected because the tape broke. Does hope really exist in this world? No matter the situation, I still get hungry. This is all your fault. It's all my fault. Wu Shani had that dream again. The guilt in her heart made it impossible for her to dislike it. Mom and Dad probably hate me. They don't even come into my dreams. After pulling herself together, Wu Shan immediately cheered up, smiled, and left for school. As soon as she opened the door, she saw Lu Kan. It turned out he had also overslept. They were almost late. They sprinted towards the school in sync. Luckily, the bus had just arrived. Lu Kan grabbed Wu Shani's backpack, saying she would definitely be late if she ran to school. Wu Shani compromised and got on the bus with Lu Kan. The stubborn Wu Shani insisted on paying him back for the bus fare. Lu Kan thought, "We're clearly good friends. Why be so formal?" Because Lu Kan had stayed up all night playing games, he planned to sleep on the bus. But Wu Shani fell asleep before he did, her head resting on his shoulder. Wu Shani's head bobbed with the bumps, bobbing up and down like a roly-poly toy. Lu Kan subconsciously reached out his hand to protect her, afraid she would bump into something. Lu Kan came to understand the feeling Jean Biaojun was talking about regarding Wu Shan-yi. The bus reached the final stop. The bus driver told them they had reached the terminus and could get off. Only then did Lu Kan wake up at the start and realize they had slept past their stop and missed school. They could only wait for the bus to depart again. A station attendant kindly handed them coffee and also contacted their homeroom teacher to alert them. Wu Shan had forgotten the last time she slept so soundly. A green shadow bounced on the ground before her eyes. Taking a closer look, it was an emerald-like frog. They curiously knelt down to watch it. Wu Shani gently poked the little frog's face. The frog took a surprising leap and landed precisely on Lu Kan's nose. Lu Kan instantly performed an electric shock dance, accompanied by a 180 decibel scream. Seeing this scene, Wu Shani clutched her stomach, laughing so hard that tears streamed down her face. Her laughter was as crisp as wind chimes in the sunlight. Suddenly, the clouds shifted, making it hard to open their eyes. Wu Shani's laughter subsided as she met Lu Kan's eyes. She apologized for laughing too much. Lu Kan looked at Wu Shani's face, which was so bright it dazzled his eyes. Wu Shani held the frog in both hands and presented it to Lu Kan. Lu Kan instantly waved his hands, saying no, thanks. Just then, the bus driver informed them they could get on. Wu Shani declared she wouldn't sleep again and would definitely keep her eyes wide open until they reached school. The one who promised not to sleep was the first to fall. Lu Kan had a helpless, yet doting expression that even he himself wasn't aware of. Lu Kan received a text from Jean Biaojun and replied with the reason he hadn't arrived at school. Back at school, Lu Kan felt very tired, having to explain the bus incident to the teacher and classmates. Lucan understood what Jean Biaojun meant by a child by the river. Wu Shani hadn't done anything, yet he couldn't help but worry about her. What exactly was this feeling? Lucan couldn't figure it out. Jean Biaojun was silent. The class president walked towards Wu Shani with a notice. He stepped on a pencil, his foot slipped, and he lunged towards Wu Shani, bumping into her shoulder. Wu Shani lost her balance and was about to fall. Jean Biaojun froze. Her face pressed against Jean Biaojun's back. Jean Biaojun's pupils dilated. Wu Shani sprang back as if electrocuted and quickly apologized. Jean Biaojun calmly said it was nothing. He then asked what happened with her and Lucan on the bus. Wu Shani's response that nothing happened was unexpected to Jean Biaojun. Wu Shani smiled, mentioning how Lucan was scared by the frog. She had even taken a picture of the frog. She took out her phone and handed it to Jean Biaojun to show him the photo. Jean Biaojun just glanced at it, but then he suddenly froze. What captivated him wasn't the frog at all, but Wu Shani's radiant, soft-focused smile. It was as if she had a filter on her. Jean Biaojun was struck by her smile, which made his heart flutter. Wu Shani leaned closer and asked, "Is the frog cute?" A rare smile appeared on Jean Biaojun's face, the corners of his mouth turning up. He answered her, "It's really cute." At the same time, Lucan kept replaying the image of Wu Shani holding the frog, and he kept feeling itchy. He didn't know where the light radiating from Wu Shani came from. Jean Moya, who always liked to bully Wu Shani, was now in a panic. Jean Mo11 was missing. Just as he was about to cry from anxiety, he ran into Wu Shani. But Jean Moya just went around her and continued searching everywhere for his sister. Wu Shani looked back at Jean Moya's anxious figure, then silently turned to help look for Jean Mo11. Finally, Wu Shani found her under the bridge by the river, curled up in a ball. Wu Shani's foot slipped, and her whole body lunged forward. On the other side, Jean Moya had searched the entire area, but there was no sign of his sister anywhere. If he couldn't find his sister, he was afraid some accident might have happened to her. Just as he was about to cry from anxiety, Wu Shani appeared, holding his sister's hand. Wu Shani told him that she found her under the bridge and that she wasn't hurt. Jean Moya was stunned for a moment, then suppressed his emotions and shouted, "Jean Mo11! Jean Mo11!" Afraid of being scolded, clutched tightly onto Wu Shani's clothes. The usually fierce Jean Moya was now crying, tears streaming down like rain. Wu Shani's worried heart was finally put at ease. She knew the pain of losing a loved one. On the other side, even if it was just seeing his mother twice a month, Jean Biaojun was still unwilling. Although Jean Biaojun's mother was heartbroken, thinking that Jean Biaojun saw her as a bad mother. Jean Biaojun didn't say anything, not even wanting to answer. He just said hello and turned to leave. The churning in his stomach reminded him of his childhood. Since he was a child, Jean Biaojun had always been the good kid from next door, but his mother still abandoned him when he was young. Jean Biaojun just wished to have someone by his side. Because she had to save money, Wu Shani could only lower her head and lick the wound she got when she fell. Her wound moved Jean Biaojun. He immediately ran up to Wu Shani and pulled her into a pharmacy with one hand. Wu Shani insisted that she had money and would pay for it herself. Jean Biaojun completely ignored her and helped put a bandage on Wu Shani. Wu Shani was anxious to pay him back and asked for his bank account number. Jean Biaojun used the dumbest excuse to get her phone number. "I heard the supermarket is having a buy one get one free sale again. We can buy some and split it." It was a good idea. He anxiously waited for Wu Shani's reply. Wu Shani realized this was a good way to save money. She immediately told Jean Biaojun her phone number. Lying in bed, Jean Biaojun looked at the phone number he had gotten from Wu Shani. Using such a lame excuse, he felt like he was going crazy. He had long forgotten the upsetting emotions from meeting his mother. Jean Moya's little followers planned to take revenge for the trash can incident. Jean Moya immediately reached out a hand to stop them. He told his two followers, "From now on, we won't bully Wu Shani anymore." Wu Shani calmly walked past, carrying a trash can. Lucan came over to borrow Jean Biaojun's math book. He didn't see Wu Shani at her seat. He insisted on waiting for her to arrive to say hello before leaving. Jean Biaojun was curious if he had some business with Wu Shani. While flipping through the book, Lucan found an IOU note tucked inside. He thought Wu Shani hadn't paid Jean Biaojun back. June explained that she had already paid it back. He just forgot to take it out. Lucan wished he would never understand his actions, but this sentence seemed to be directed at himself. Lucan felt so frustrated. He couldn't focus in class at all, but he couldn't figure out why. He didn't know who it was that he cared about so much. The runaway girl they had been looking for all this time now secretly came back to take her mother's belongings. Sister Tao and the housekeeper discovered her. Wu Shani made a stop gesture, signaling them not to come closer. She just wanted to come back and get some of her mother's belongings. They didn't dare to move a single step forward. Even though Wu Shani was very reluctant to leave, she left as soon as she finished grabbing the items. She was afraid she would waver. Sister Tao wanted to cry just thinking about her, but could only silently watch Wu Shani leave. After school, Jean Biaojun was dragged into a snack shop by Liu Kan. When Jean Biaojun's phone screen lit up with Wu Shani's name, Jean Biaojun was surprised. How did he have Wu Shani's phone number? He only said, "I asked her for it." After Jean Biaojun's reply, Lucan said nothing more. Lucan explained that he was thinking about some things. Jean Biaojun replied faintly, "A bystander sees things most clearly." But it made Lucan inexplicably irritated. He decided to say what was on his mind. Jean Biaojun stopped him, hoping he would think it through before speaking. The frustrated Lucan fell silent once more. Suddenly, the sound of hurried footsteps approached from the front. Wu Shan suddenly rushed in front of them, squeezing right between the two. She huddled behind them and told them to look ahead. The two followed her line of sight. Not far away, a tall man ran over, panting. He was looking around as if searching for someone. Jean Biaojun's cold, fierce gaze swept over. Lucan's eyes were filled with warning. The tall man subconsciously wanted to see her face clearly, but looking at the two knight-errants protecting the flower, he gave up and chose to turn and leave. Lucan wanted to know who that person was, if he was a stalker. Wu Shani said with a serious expression, something like that. She explained that there was no need to be nervous. It was someone she knew from before. Her Godspeed Shani part-time business was getting better and better. The management fees were now covered. She happened to run into Liu Kan. Lucan also wanted a Godspeed Shani card. Wu Shani subconsciously thought he had a part-time job to offer. Lucan just wanted to send her a message. Lucan looked at Wu Shani's contact number on the business card. He immediately saved it to his phone. Jean Biaojun's phrase, "A bystander sees things most clearly," pierced Liu Kan's heart like a thorn. Lucan was dissatisfied. "Don't think you're always right. Don't stop me when I want to speak." Despite this, Jean Biaojun just gave a stunned reply, "Okay." Lucan didn't understand. Wu Shani clearly lived right across from him, yet he never ran into her. He had clearly heard a scream just now. The sound came from Wu Shani's room. He quickly called Wu Shani. Anxious, he kept ringing Wu Shani's doorbell. There was no response. He was so panicked he felt like kneeling and begging for her to pick up the phone. Inside the door, Wu Shani was kneeling on the floor. Her anxiety attack had started. The oxygen was suddenly sucked away. The pain made her lose control of her strength. She didn't answer the constantly ringing phone. She had to solve this on her own, without relying on anyone. The phone screen received a text message. It was a message from Jean Biaojun. Seeing Jean Biaojun's name, she remembered the three-step first aid method Jean Biaojun had taught her. She slowly regained her breathing. Lucan was frantically calling Wu Shani's phone, but couldn't get through. He even thought about calling the police. He felt like he was going crazy. Behind him came the sound of an electronic lock opening. The moment the door finally opened, Lucan spun around and pinned her against the wall, demanding to know why she didn't answer the phone and that he had heard her scream. She forced herself to remain calm and said she was just asleep and didn't hear the phone, that he must have misheard the sound. He looked at her reddened eyes, like cherry blossoms wet with rain. If he got any closer, he would want to pull her into his arms. The TV screen flickered with the headline, "Wu Shan Group Chairman and Wife Die in Car Accident." The next second, the chairman's younger brother, Wu Shanjingxiong, was on the phone with his assistant, saying, "Suppress all the reports, especially the reason they went out." Even the fact that they left after receiving their daughter's phone call and got into a car accident on the way, that information cannot be revealed. No one would have thought that such a dignified man was now silently breaking down and sobbing, "It's all your fault." This sentence finally hit the young girl who had just lost her parents. The young girl who had just lost her parents. He couldn't help but blame her. He hated himself for saying such a thing to a child. Every time he closed his eyes, he thought that it was because of her that this happened. While the man hated Wu Shani, he also felt an uncontrollable heartache for her. Hong Chi-bin couldn't forget the girl with the triangle hairstyle from last time. He unconsciously walked to that same place. He squinted, staring at the back of the girl with the triangle hairstyle ahead, to confirm whether he knew her or not. He quickened his pace to catch up. But just as she was within reach, a tall figure cut in. It was Jean Biaojun. He glanced back at Hong Chi-bin. Then he turned and walked towards Wu Shan, with whom he had arranged to go to the supermarket. Wu Shan informed Jean Biaojun that the supermarket sale had started. Jean Biaojun used his entire back to form a wall, completely hiding the petite Wu Shan from view. Hong Chi-bin guessed, is that the girl's boyfriend? He memorized the style of the boys' school uniform, planning to find out which school it was from, and then left. Jean Biaojun noticed that Hong Chi-bin had left and told Wu Shan that the stalker from last time had appeared again. Hearing this name, Wu Shan's pupils instantly contracted like a frightened deer. She instinctively grabbed the hair on both sides of her head to cover her entire face. Jean Biaojun said gently, "Don't worry, he's gone." "How do you know that person?" A classmate insisted on dragging Hong Chi-bin to see the legendary Wu Shan, but he didn't even lift his eyelids. That yes, she better looking than me. As Wu Shan passed by, a pen rolled onto the floor. Classmate excitedly picked it up, wanted to wipe it clean, and return it to her. He frowned at this crazy person's behavior. The moment he turned his head, he saw her long hair, snow-white skin, and clear eyes. Her whole person seemed to be coated in a soft light. Hong Chi-bin's breath caught. He was completely stunned. To him, this was fate. He decided he was going to pursue Wu Shan. Wu Shan, he didn't tell them how she knew Hong Chi-bin. Jean Biaojun looked at her dotingly and said, "What I want to know isn't the past, but how I can completely protect you." Jean Biaojun's sudden directness left Wu Shan flustered. He saw through Wu Shan's avoidance and just smiled, changing the subject. "The supermarket sale is about to start. Let's go." After finishing her part-time job, Wu Shan finally had time to sit down. She wanted to listen to all the tapes her mother had left, hoping to find a song to accompany her. But she listened to several tapes, and they were all blank inside. In the distance, male students were clamoring about how popular Jean Biaojun was. Upperclassmen and underclassmen were fighting over even a photo of him drinking water. If this goes on, they'll be eaten alive by them. Even though Wu Shan was wearing headphones, she could hear everything clearly. A classmate hoped he would find a girlfriend and end this farce quickly. After hearing this, he curled his lips into a smile and answered, "I have one." Then he turned and walked towards Wu Shan, stopping in front of her. He understood everything now. He knew what he wanted. He just wanted to quietly stay by her side and protect her. Park Eun-jung thought that Hong Chi-bin liked Wu Shan purely for her looks. Kong suggested that if Chi-bin saw the current Wu Shan, he would definitely give up. The current Wu Shan, it doesn't even use lotion. Li Yunil couldn't deny it. In fact, they were looking forward to Hong Chi-bin seeing the current Wu Shan. After all, Chi-bin fell for Wu Shan at first sight and went around telling everyone he was her boyfriend when it was clearly a one-sided crush. Wu Shan got a cashier part-time job at the 23 convenience store. She had been suffering from insomnia lately, and on top of that, the Godspeed Shawnee work was too much. She started to feel exhausted and considered whether to start taking anxiety medication. Suddenly, she felt the world spin. Losing strength in her limbs, her whole body fell backward. Her waist was suddenly caught and held steady by a strong force. Lukin's fingers almost sank into her clothes. He looked at Wu Shan with a worried expression. Just then, a customer came in. It was Hong Chi-bin, holding a pack of tissues and waiting to check out. His gaze cut across like a blade. Lukin recognized this man. It was the stalker from the day before. He wanted to see Wu Shan's reaction. Wu Shan's face was wrinkled up like an old woman's. While checking him out, Wu Shan held her breath, trying hard to maintain the old woman expression, afraid that Hong Chi-bin would recognize who she was. As soon as Hong Chi-bin left, Wu Shan immediately took a deep breath. Wu Shan was flustered, guessing that he had left because he couldn't recognize her with this old woman bare face. Lukin wanted to know the relationship between the two of them. Wu Shan said they were just friends. Lukin really wanted to ask her more, but he held back. To avoid another attack, Wu Shan decided to see a doctor and take medication. All the money she earned from her part-time jobs was spent on medicine. Regardless of whether she was tired, she continued to rush to complete her delivery orders. Wu Shani, who was pushing herself too hard, had heavy dark circles under her eyes. Jean Biaojun surprisingly didn't call her by her full name. He just called out, "Shani, your lips are so dry they're bleeding. I bought a lip balm especially for you. I hope you'll accept it." Wu Shan was inexplicably bothered that he had only called her by her first name. She applied the lip balm. Wu Shan finally smiled with relief. Just then, she heard the sound of a slap coming from the corner. Two upperclassmen were scolding Jean Emoya, who was a grade below them. Jean Emoya hadn't received his allowance this month. The brutish upperclassman wouldn't listen to his reason at all. "Today, I'm going to teach a lesson to the person who can't buy me a bag." Shani rushed out and stood in front of Jean Emoya. That slap landed on Wu Shani's face. The upperclassmen froze when they saw blood on their hands. A trickle of blood oozed from the corner of Wu Shani's lips. Wiping her mouth only smeared the blood all over her face. This move stunned the upperclassmen. They threw out a few harsh words and quickly ran away. Jean Emoya pulled Wu Shani, wanted to wash the blood from her face. "Even though I don't know why you helped me, I'm not going to be moved." Wu Shani said she didn't need his thanks. She just hated seeing people get it. She would have intervened no matter who it was. Jean Emoya offered to be her good friend. Shani refused without a second thought. In another school, whenever he saw something triangle-shaped, Hong Chi-bin would think of Wu Shani. After all, it was love at first sight for him. How could Wu Shani not recognize him? He was angry. Li Juun and Park Yanael didn't reveal Wu Shani's whereabouts. He decided to find Wu Shani himself and ask her clearly. Wu Shani had just returned to the classroom after taking out the trash. Jean Biaojun walked over and asked her about her plans that if you don't have a part-time job, I'll walk home with you today. Wu Shani was a little surprised because he usually took the bus. Jean Biaojun's eyes softened and he smiled slightly. He said he planned to walk home with her from now on. Wu Shani immediately understood his intention, knowing he was worried that Hong Chi-bin would come looking for trouble with her again. She told Jean Biaojun not to worry because she wouldn't meet him again in the future. Just as she finished speaking, the classroom door was suddenly pushed open. Hong Chi-bin stood there, his gaze locked directly on Wu Shani. Wu Shani's jaw dropped. Her blood ran cold. Her body subconsciously retreated. Hong Chi-bin shot a glance at Jean Biaojun. He said with a somewhat dangerous tone, "So you're in the same class as him? That makes things a bit difficult." Jean Biaojun didn't show any weakness, his gaze terrifyingly cold. He stared as Hong Chi-bin approached step by step. "Even if you wrinkle your face like that, I'll still recognize you." Jean Biaojun also started walking towards him. "Excuse me." Hong Chi-bin raised a hand in a stopping motion. Hong Chi-bin said, "Although I don't know what your relationship is, we are especially close." Jean Biaojun threw the same words back at him. He suddenly took Wu Shani's hand. The warm touch made Wu Shani tremble. He coldly warned Hong Chi-bin, "From now on, if you want to see Wu Shani, you must get my permission." Hong Chi-bin stared at their clasped hands, a hint of darkness flashing in his eyes. "That's hilarious. I have to go through you? Who do you think you are? Don't tell me you're Shani's boyfriend." Hong Chi-bin, "You should leave." A clear voice interrupted him. Wu Shan had finally calmed down and found her voice. Hong Chi-bin raised both hands in a gesture of surrender, saying he didn't want to scare her. Plus, with another guy present, the situation was not in his favor. As he turned to leave, he threw out a taunt. "You can let go now. Your acting is really something else." Meanwhile, Liu Kan, who had come looking for Jean Biaojun, happened to see the scene of them holding hands. Jean Biaojun only let go after the footsteps had completely disappeared. Liu Kan asked what had happened. Jean Biaojun said he held her hand to help Wu Shani. Wu Shani explained that the person had recognized her back at the convenience store. "I really didn't expect him to crazily chase me all the way to school." She realized something was wrong. How could Hong Chi-bin leave so easily? This thought was confirmed while she was packing her bag. Her phone was gone. That lunatic! Wu Shani shouted, startling Jean Biaojun and Liu Kan. She threw out "I'm leaving first," and ran out of the classroom in a rage. They didn't understand what was wrong with her. Although Hong Chi-bin wasn't her boyfriend, Liu Kan decided that he would also walk home with Wu Shani from now on. Jean Biaojun was curious that he had actually asked Wu Shani if that person was her boyfriend. Liu Kan said calmly, "Machem." She said he wasn't. Jean Biaojun asked directly, "Then why did you specifically ask her?" Liu Kan didn't expect him to ask that and was at a loss for words. On the other side, Hong Chi-bin, having seen them holding hands, had swiped Wu Shani's phone because he knew she would come looking for it. At this moment, Wu Shani was running frantically, searching for Hong Chi-bin, until she was grabbed by a strong arm. Hong Chi-bin, with a triumphant delight, was toying with her phone in his hand. Wu Shani reached out to grab the phone, but he easily dodged her. Instead, he said her personality was still so impulsive, which he really liked. Hong Chi-bin dragged her to a deserted place to talk about what she had been up to this past year. He said she had changed a lot, but Wu Shani only felt that he hadn't changed at all, still so childish. Hong Chi-bin was thinking about how to make her change back to the old Wu Shani. She coldly replied, "The old Wu Shani is already dead." Hong Chi-bin didn't expect her to say that. He continued to ask why she abandoned them to live in hiding like this. She was afraid that if she stayed with them, the mistake she had made would keep repeating. Hong Chi-bin said he wouldn't return the phone if she didn't answer. While Hong Chi-bin was distracted, she snatched the phone back. Wu Shan warned him that if he showed up at school again, Hong Chi-bin retorted roguishly, "I'll never see you again for the rest of my life." But then Hong Chi-bin laughed, "I'll just go see you, won't that work?" Hearing this, she just felt that Hong Chi-bin was talking nonsense again. She told him not to follow her anymore and hurried off to her part-time job. But Hong Chi-bin watched her retreating figure, his eyes dark and unreadable. He was not going to let go easily. Wu Shani's heart had quietly taken root in this new school. The figure once used to walking alone now moved through the campus, always receiving warm greetings. Students from different classes showed her around the campus. Even the security guard uncle told her with relief, watching her go from being alone to being surrounded by more and more people. It seems their understanding of you is no longer superficial. They've seen the real you. This warmth of being seen and accepted made Wu Shani feel a deep sense of reluctance to leave and affection in her heart. After class, Wu Shani took out the tape, a memento from her parents. She guessed the last one was probably also silent. Just as she was about to press the play button, an accident happened. Two students, chasing each other and fooling around, crashed over. One of them slipped badly, his slipper flipping up to his heel, and his whole body fell uncontrollably towards Wu Shani's desk. Wu Shani was too stunned to react or dodge. In the nick of time, an arm shot out like lightning. Jean Biaojun grabbed the back collar of the male student's shirt. He effortlessly lifted the other person up with just his left hand. This astonishing strength left Wu Shani and the surrounding students dumbfounded. Jean Biaojun briefly admonished the reckless student. He then turned to Wu Shani, reminding her that the tape was almost ruined. At this point, he noticed her wet hair and asked why. It turned out Jean Biaojun had just finished playing basketball and had only rinsed off quickly in the locker room. He rushed back to the classroom with his hair still wet. After all, he was worried about Wu Shani. Jean Biaojun confirmed Hong Chi-bin's identity with Wu Shani and asked if he had been wrong to intervene before. Wu Shani said he hadn't done anything wrong, blaming herself for misleading him by calling Hong Chi-bin a stalker. Jean Biaojun asked Wu Shani bluntly, "That Hong Chi-bin likes you, right? So how do you feel about him?" This direct question astonished Wu Shani. It was completely unlike something he would say. Jean Biaojun's unusual behavior left her confused and flustered, and she couldn't give any answer. After school, Jean Biaojun's dizzying questions were temporarily set aside. Wu Shani finally had a chance to listen to the tape that had been accidentally interrupted. She put on her headphones as she walked home. On the other side, Liu Kan, having witnessed Wu Shani and Jean Biaojun pretending to hold hands, was sulking like a petulant child. He even ignored a text from Jean Biaojun out of spite. As he was preparing to cross the road, he saw Wu Shani across the street, wearing headphones. He called out loudly, "Shani, you're back from school." However, she didn't react at all, just stood silently at the traffic light. Lucan wondered if she couldn't hear because of the headphones. He continued to call out as he walked closer. It wasn't until he was right in front of her that he made a shocking discovery. She was crying silently. The heartbroken look on her face made his heart clench. He was both sad and desperate to know what had happened. He ran and stood in front of her. He saw her looking down, occasionally nodding gently, murmuring, "That's right," and "Demachum." At first, Lucan thought she was on the phone, but the headphone cord was clearly connected to a cassette player. It turned out the tape was her mother's gentle and apologetic voice, apologizing for missing her birthday again. She caringly asked how her life had been recently. In her mind, images of a warm dinner, the companionship of Jin Biaojun and Liu Kan, the worries of her best friends, the terrible dreams. Even Hong Chi-bin's pursuit. Listening to this belated message, Wu Shani could only respond to her mother's concern with choked MHMs. Suddenly, her father's voice cut in, urging her mother to go to work. "Honey, what are you doing? Let's go to the company now." Her mother hurriedly responded, and her last words to her were, "After we're done with work, our family will go on a trip, baby girl. We'll see you in a bit. I'm so sorry, so sorry." Immense grief and the regret of not being able to say a proper goodbye instantly overwhelmed Wu Shani. She could only whisper, "I'm sorry," over and over again. Watching her struggle not to cry out loud, Liu Kan's heart felt as if it were being torn apart. All he could do was raise his hand, and with endless heartache, gently stroke the top of her head, silently staying by her side. He didn't ask what had happened. At another school, Li Nil was getting irritated by Hong Chi-bin's disappearance. He had borrowed his science book, but was nowhere to be found. Faced with his questioning, his classmate just casually suggested lending him his own book. After class, Li Nil pointed out that he relied on his father's power to act recklessly. Park Eun-ju said he did outrageous things, but never crossed the line, like a fox. They all noticed that Hong Chi-bin's state was abnormal. He was uncharacteristically shutting himself away. This silence deepened their ominous premonition. That night, Jin Biaojun was at home with his father. His father apologetically told him that he had asked his remarried mother not to contact him anymore, hoping to reduce his stress. His father said self-reproachfully that it was clearly his and his mother's fault that their marriage failed. Yet Jin Biaojun had to bear more pain. Jin Biaojun responded honestly that he didn't hate his mother. He just needed time to process everything. Because of Wu Shani's appearance, he now had someone he wanted to protect in his heart, and the stirring desire to be accompanied by someone had also sprouted. However, at this moment, he realized that this healing period could perhaps be shortened. Wushan Group. Hong Chi-bin's mother informed them that she had agreed to her son's transfer, which he had exchanged for a promise to stop being late and skipping class. Although she didn't know the reason, she ultimately agreed reluctantly. The uncle responded with understanding, believing that parents can never win against their children. The next morning, Wu Shani came to school with eyes as swollen as a pufferfish's from crying all night. The class president was frightened by her appearance and didn't even dare to look at her directly, turning to Jin Biaojun, who had just entered the classroom, for help. The class president felt it was hard to even tell if Wu Shani's eyes were open or where she was looking. When Wu Shani's gaze finally turned to the class president, her strangely puffy eyes startled him. The class president hurriedly suggested she go to the nurse's office and quickly left. Wu Shani looked at the notice and complained that it wasn't a very important notice, even saying she could just sign herself. Jin Biaojun bent down in front of her, looking carefully at her eyes. He said with heartache, "Shani, your eyes are so swollen." Then he had Wu Shani hold out her hand and placed a few candies in her palm. While demonstratively unwrapping a candy, he explained, "This candy is especially sour. So sour it makes your tongue numb. It's quite interesting to eat." He didn't know what kind of heart-wrenching pain she had gone through last night, but he keenly sensed that she had cried. He just hoped this sour taste could temporarily distract her and cover up some of her sadness. Wu Shan-yi watched him eat the candy, a warm current flowing through her heart. He clearly didn't know anything, yet it was as if he understood everything. He was comforting her in his own way. In Wu Shani's class, a transfer student suddenly appeared. The moment he stepped into the classroom, he caused a commotion. The students mistook him for a celebrity idol. Wu Shani was confused by her classmates' intense reaction. "Hello everyone, my name is Hong Chi-bin. Please take care of me in the future." This sentence was like a thunderclap, making Wu Shani's soul leave her body for a moment. Jin Biaojun, beside her, also noticed something was wrong. He was just about to ask Wu Shani why this person would come here, but he saw Wu Shani's dazed expression. Hong Chi-bin was brazenly direct, asking the teacher for a seat. Because he was personally sent by the chairman of the board, the teacher asked him where he wanted to sit. Hong Chi-bin pointed to the seat to Wu Shani's left. Jin Biaojun's heart sank as he looked at the indicated spot. As soon as the bell rang for the end of class, Hong Chi-bin was immediately surrounded by a group of girls. They all talked at once, asking for his social media accounts and relationship status. He answered them one by one with annoyance, stating that he had a girlfriend and telling them to stay away. These merciless words instantly extinguished the girls' enthusiasm. Their gazes turned from admiration to disgust. The surrounding students witnessed all this. They were speechless at his ill-mannered words. Some thought it could be tolerated for the sake of his good looks. The atmosphere fell into chaos due to Hong Chi-bin's arrival. Wu Shani's heart was in turmoil, and she didn't know what to do. At the same time, in class 1-to-1, Lucan was holding his phone. He was focused on searching for a way to convert and store the contents of the audio cassette onto a USB drive. His serious expression held a trace of sadness because he knew that Wu Shani had been crying while listening to the tape last night. She hadn't heard her deceased mother's voice in so long. That helpless look and those silent tears were deeply imprinted in his mind, impossible to forget. Wu Shani was dejected, admitting that Hong Chi-bin was right, that she was just role-playing. She slowly lowered her head. Hong Chi-bin looked at her dejected state, unsure of what to do, for a moment. He could only sigh helplessly. At this moment, Liu Kan, who had come to find Wu Shani with a banana milk, mistakenly thought Hong Chi-bin was bullying her. He instantly threw down the milk. He rushed forward and shoved Hong Chi-bin. Hong Chi-bin was stunned by this sudden attack. Then he actually found it laughable, a disdainful smile appearing on his face. He looked at Liu Kan contemptuously and said provocatively, "Don't touch me. If you want to push, push harder." He complained that everyone pounced on him the moment they saw him. Liu Kan frowned and questioned, "Aren't you the stalker who was following Shani?" "Stalker?" Hong Chi-bin immediately glared angrily at Wu Shani. Wu Shani guiltily averted her gaze and admitted in a small voice, "I did say you were something like a stalker." But then she became defiant, listing Hong Chi-bin's past stalking behaviors. Hong Chi-bin retorted, "So you just treat me like a stalker?" Liu Kan was stunned and asked Wu Shani, "Are you two friends?" Wu Shani awkwardly admitted, "I guess so." But Hong Chi-bin corrected her triumphantly, declaring, "More than friends. I'm her boyfriend." This sentence made Liu Kan's face change drastically. Wu Shani excitedly retorted, accusing Hong Chi-bin of spreading rumors in the past and telling Liu Kan not to believe him. That's 70% of what he says are lies. Hong Chi-bin shamelessly emphasized, then 30% of it is true. He arrogantly asked Liu Kan who he was. Liu Kan replied that he was Wu Shani's good friend. Hong Chi-bin repeated, "Good friend," playfully. Just then, the class bell rang. Wu Shani said she had to go back to the classroom. Hong Chi-bin walked past Liu Kan with his hands in his pockets, sneering in a low voice, "Some good friend you are." Then he said to Wu Shani, "See you in the classroom," and turned to leave. Liu Kan just thought dazedly about Hong Chi-bin's taunt. Hong Chi-bin's handsome looks attracted the upperclassmen girls like a magnet. The scene made Wu Shani feel very helpless. To calm her nerves, she unwrapped one of the candies Jean Biaojun had given her and put it in her mouth. An intense sour taste exploded in her mouth. Wu Shani's face contorted from the shock, and she wanted to spit it out immediately. She hurriedly looked for a tissue. Seeing this, Jean Biaojun immediately held out his palm in front of her and said, "Spit it here." Wu Shani subconsciously spat the candy into his hand. Wu Shani looked at Jean Biaojun in shock, reminding him that she had eaten that. Jean Biaojun just calmly said he was going to throw it away and turned to leave the classroom. Wu Shani watched his retreating back, puzzled by his actions. But instead, she thought, why is he so nice? Hong Chi-bin, standing outside the classroom door, took in the whole scene, his face darkening. On the bus ride home from school, Jean Biaojun and Liu Kan were discussing how Hong Chi-bin had deliberately transferred into Wu Shani's class. Liu Kan looked at the profile of Jean Biaojun beside him. In his heart, he still liked him and wanted to be by his side. But he was also confused about whether this had another meaning. On the other side, after school, Wu Shani was picking up trash along the riverbank. Hong Chi-bin followed her, asking with a mix of confusion and disgust why she was doing something so dirty. Wu Shani turned around and sternly ordered him to stop following her. Hong Chi-bin shamelessly refused. Wu Shani warned him with a firm gaze, "If you follow me again, I will run far away and disappear." Looking into her eyes, Hong Chi-bin instantly understood. This was her non-negotiable boundary. He stopped and didn't follow any further mother because he was afraid she would disappear again. Wu Shani's heart churned with bits and pieces of the past, especially the consequences of her willful behavior on her birthday. This pain drove her to continue the life she had chosen with even more determination. She told Jin Biaojun with a solemn expression, "This is a problem I have to solve myself. I can handle it even without your help." Jin Biaojun was slightly surprised that she called him by his full name. Wu Shani's face was grim. She ordered Hong Chi-bin, who was on her left, to go out with her. Hong Chi-bin got up and followed. As he passed by Jin Biaojun, he shot him a glance. Jin Biaojun stared back at him. Hong Chi-bin made a provocative face before leaving the classroom. In the school corridor, Hong Chi-bin complained that the school didn't allow earrings, making his ears feel empty. He looked at Wu Shani's triangle hairstyle and mocked that it looked more and more like a steamed bun every time he saw her. Wu Shani turned a deaf ear to his mockery, just fiercely ordering him, "You go back." Hong Chi-bin refused helplessly. He retorted, "Are you going to run away again?" At the same time, Liu Kin was holding a banana milk. A classmate asked if it was for him. Liu Kin said it was for someone else. He was thinking of Wu Shani's swollen eyes from crying, hoping the sweet milk would make her feel better. Hong Chi-bin questioned Wu Shani, "Why are you living such a painful life? You're clearly not poor, yet you're acting like a rich princess playing a role." Wu Shani was hit where it hurt and couldn't refute his words. Painful memories instantly flooded her mind. She had announced to her uncle that she was leaving that house. She believed she once had too much, which made her even more greedy, complaining, and foolish. The nanny who had taken care of her since she was a child cried and cried. She forcefully stuffed a bank card with her own savings into her hand, begging her to calm down and come back soon. Wu Shani moved alone into the old, empty, and simple apartment where her parents lived before they started their business. She was determined to experience a life of having nothing. This decision of self-exile was deeply rooted in the day her parents died in a car accident. Her birthday. She threw a tantrum at Sister Tao, complaining that her parents had abandoned her, and orchestrated a Find Me game. She booked rooms in several hotels owned by her parents' company, demanding that her parents come find her in person. She left a message for her mother, saying she had booked rooms in all the hotels, demanding that her parents search for her hotel by hotel, otherwise she wouldn't go home or to school. Her anxious parents didn't even rest. Her father drove without even closing his eyes, searching hotel by hotel. Her mother worriedly suggested she drive instead. Her father insisted he was fine. Wu Shani, waiting in the hotel, began to feel uneasy and regretful. Just then, the doorbell rang urgently. Wu Shani was instantly overwhelmed with immense joy, thinking her parents had finally found her. She ran to open the door. However, standing at the door was her uncle with a grave expression. He heavily uttered 3 words, "It's all your fault." Her parents, while searching for her in a state of extreme exhaustion, had unfortunately been in a car accident and died on the spot. Her uncle's accusation and the surging self-blame in her heart became an eternal brand on her. Wu Shani was at home, happily examining her newly acquired rice cooker, even though it was a spare one from the fruit shop lady. There was another precious new item. The happiness of owning a fan made her sincerely grateful to the electrician grandpa. Even if the fan's oscillation function was broken, she didn't care at all. The summer heat had once worried her. Now, the happiness of owning a fan made her sincerely grateful to the grandpa. However, a loud hissing sound suddenly coming from the rice cooker broke the silence. The sound was so intense, it made her suspect it was a bomb. She was so scared she immediately hid in a corner to observe from a distance. A few minutes later, she mustered the courage to lift the lid, only to find that the rice was cooked exceptionally well. The next morning, Wu Shani left for school. She met her neighbor, Liu Kan's mother, who was on her way to throw out the recyclable trash. Liu Kan's mother enthusiastically handed her a bag of homemade cookies to take to school as a snack. Liu Kan's mother noticed Wu Shan wasn't wearing gym pants. Wu Shani lifted her skirt to reveal shorts underneath, making Liu Kan's mother laugh. Just then, Liu Kan came out early and said goodbye to his mother. Liu Kan admitted that he wanted to go to school with Wu Shani. On the way, Wu Shani wondered why Liu Kan wasn't taking the bus. Liu Kan showed her a pair of gloves, saying he would accompany her to pick up trash. In the sweltering heat of the campus. The rankings were for Wu Shani. What was even more annoying was her classmate Hong Chi-bin. As soon as class was over, Hong Chi-bin would lean over her desk and act cute. Wu Shani, focused on a mobile quiz event, coldly told him to go away. But Hong Chi-bin didn't care at all, saying that just looking at her made him happy. The girls watching from the side whispered among themselves, guessing that Hong Chi-bin liked Wu Shani, but their words revealed a disdain for the difference in their levels. Hong Chi-bin heard these discussions and, dissatisfied, wanted Wu Shani to hear them too. He criticized her appearance, hoping she would return to the original look he remembered, so those gossipers would be impressed. Unable to bear it any longer, Wu Shani suddenly interrupted him, asking if he wanted a candy. Hong Chi-bin was pleasantly surprised, thinking she was going to feed him, and obediently opened his mouth. Hong Chi-bin's expression instantly twisted from the sourness. Wu Shani took the opportunity to escape the classroom. She thought to herself that Hong Chi-bin never really listened to her words. He was the type who loved to talk but not to listen. She told herself sadly but firmly, anyway, no matter what anyone says, I will never go back to how I was before. At the same time, Wu Shani's uncle appeared at the office of the anxiety doctor, Professor Kim, whom she had seen before. The doctor was surprised that this important person had come in person. The uncle got straight to the point and asked about Wu Shani's condition. The doctor realized the matter was confidential. The uncle stated that he was now Wu Shani's legal representative. While taking out the trash, Wu Shani ran into Lucan. She told him she was preparing to go to a shop to transfer the cassette tape to a USB drive. Lucan was worried and wanted to accompany her. Wu Shani politely declined, saying she had an appointment and it would be done quickly. She thanked him again for helping her find a shop. Seeing Wu Shani smile, a slightly ticklish feeling sprouted in his heart. Lucan blurted out, "It's so good to see you smile." In his eyes, that smile seemed to be shining. Suddenly, a buzzing sound was heard. A large hornet flew straight towards them. Wu Shani was alarmed. In her panic, she grabbed Lucan's sleeve. Lucan froze for a moment, not knowing how to react. He watched her fearless profile. The world seemed to fade away, leaving only the chirping of cicadas. He heard his heartbeat sprouting in the dusty light. It wasn't until Wu Shani let go of his sleeve, confirmed the bee had flown away, and said with a laugh that she was scared silly, that Lucan silently looked away to hide his feelings. In the school's chairman's office, the principal was respectfully receiving the newly transferred Hong Chi-bin. He praised his prominent family background, looks, and grades endlessly. Hong Chi-bin was used to this. When the principal eagerly asked if he needed anything, Hong Chi-bin made a special request. Wu Shani went to check on the vegetables she had planted with the help of the security guard uncle. The lettuce was growing astonishingly well, unusually tall. The security guard uncle reminded her that such large lettuce would be bitter, but Wu Shan, it didn't care at all. As long as it was edible, it was fine. She picked the lettuce, planning to make lettuce wraps for dinner with the Samjang and Annie had given her. Carrying the bag of vegetables, Wu Shani passed a classroom and was attracted by a poster for a handsome guy video contest by the door. The first prize, a laptop computer, especially caught her eye. Suddenly, the door was pushed open. Out walked Jean Biaojun, wearing a headband with his shirt open, revealing his abs. Wu Shani was instantly stunned, her eyes turning into dots. When Jean Biaojun saw it was her, he turned bright red with embarrassment and shyness. He hurriedly took off the headband and fixed his clothes. People from the classroom chased after him, begging him to put on a skirt and a wig to shoot the video. Jean Biaojun was terrified. In a moment of desperation, he grabbed Wu Shani as a shield, pretending a teacher was urgently looking for him. He pulled her to the public washroom area. Jean Biaojun frantically washed the makeup off his face with water, especially the stubborn mascara that wouldn't come off. Wu Shani handed him a tissue and asked why he didn't just finish shooting the video. Jean Biaojun thought it was terrifying that the video would remain online. He had been on the run all day to avoid being caught. Wu Shani noticed he had buttoned his shirt wrong and also reminded him that there were still clumps of mascara. Jean Biaojun hurriedly fixed his buttons. Wu Shani again pointed out a spot he hadn't wiped clean. Jean Biaojun then naturally bent down, bringing his face close to Wu Shani's, asking for the specific location. At this very moment, Hong Chi-bin, who had just come from the chairman's office, he had requested and been specially permitted to wear an earring. He was just walking to the window. He looked past the window glass. Just then, Jean Xiaojun moved closer to Wu Shani. As the two of them drew closer, Hong Chi-bin's face suddenly darkened, his eyes turning fierce. He immediately pushed the door open and rushed over menacingly. Jin Xiaojun lowered his head slightly, like a cat that had accidentally gotten into smoky eye makeup, with a hint of imperceptible dependence. He asked her to point out the smudge that wasn't wiped clean on his face. Wu Shani froze for a moment, then extended her left hand. Her fingertip gently touched the mark under his lower eyelid. Just in this subtle, quiet moment, a burst of hurried footsteps broke the silence. A wet wipe was forcefully thrown at Jin Xiaojun's face. The sudden attack made Wu Shani quickly retract her hand. She turned her head to see who it was. The wet wipe wasn't caught and fluttered powerlessly to the ground. Hong Chi-bin, who had rushed over, was panting, his hair a mess. He gasped out a few words, "Use this to wipe." The air seemed to freeze, with only the sound of cicadas buzzing. Wu Shani was instantly enraged and loudly berated Hong Chi-bin. Whispers drifted from the classroom doorway. Emoya passed by and overheard student try and stop student B from uploading a candid photo of Jin Xiaojun, but be excitedly locked onto a new target. Hong Chi-bin and two others walked into the classroom. His gaze was drawn to Wu Shani sitting at her desk. Student B aimed their phone at Wu Shani to take a picture to upload, labeling it with the name Beggar. Jin and Moya spoke up to stop them. "Don't take pictures. Don't bother her." A and B were dismissive, joking about uploading it. Before they could finish, a large hand suddenly snatched the phone away. Hong Chi-bin, expressionless, quickly deleted the photo that had just been taken. The three were stunned by his sudden appearance, an intimidating aura, standing frozen in place. Hong Chi-bin's gaze swept over them as he threatened in a low voice, "I really wanted to smash this phone, but I barely managed to hold back. So you should thank Sean." After speaking, the menacing expression instantly melted away as if it had never existed. A brilliant smile bloomed on his face as he walked straight towards Wu Shani. A nearby classmate was surprised at how familiar Hong Chi-bin and Wu Shani were, feeling very envious. Emoya kept looking at Wu Shani, lost in thought. In the men's locker room, the stuffy air was filled with the mixed smell of sweat and leather. The boys complained, just wanted to leave quickly. Jin Xiaojun had just opened his locker door when it was slammed shut with a bang. He looked up and saw the expressionless Hong Chi-bin. Jin Xiaojun didn't say anything and reached out to open the door again. The moment it was ajar, Hong Chi-bin immediately pushed it shut with force. Open door, close door. Open again, close again. The two of them were like programmed machines, silently and stubbornly repeating this monotonous action. Sweat trickled down Hong Chi-bin's cheeks. Jin Xiaojun's arm grew sore from opening the door, but neither was willing to stop first, as if that locker door had become a prize they had to fight for. The creaking sound of the door opening and the heavy thud of it closing echoed monotonously in the locker room, causing the other boys to look at each other, confused. During the break, Hong Chi-bin sat on a chair in the hallway, on a video call with Park Eun-ju and Li Yinnie. On the other end of the screen, Park Eun-ju was extremely anxious, angrily questioning him about taking her science book. Hong Chi-bin seemed not to hear, pondering Jin Xiaojun's physique and fighting ability, even considering whether to go for Taekwondo training. Li Yinnie, who was with him, noticed the school crest on Hong Chi-bin's uniform. Only then did Hong Chi-bin turn his attention to the screen. He coolly denied transferring schools, but didn't deny the fact that he had found Shani. The school bell rang, and the classroom gradually emptied. Wu Shani packed her bag, her gaze sweeping over Hong Chi-bin's empty seat. A trace of relief passed through her heart. He left so early today. The world is finally quiet. Just then, Jin Xiaojun walked in, leaving only the two of them in the classroom. He asked if Wu Shani was the one the teacher spoke with. She said it wasn't her turn yet. The topic shifted to Lu. Jin Xiaojun said he went to a cram school. Wu Shani was a bit surprised that Lu needed tutoring. Suddenly, a clear rumbling sound broke the silence. Wu Shani looked towards the sound. Jin Xiaojun admitted frankly, "It's my stomach." Wu Shani remembered the cookie Lu Kin's mother gave her in the morning and immediately took it out of her bag. She explained that she was too excited about the lettuce and forgot to eat it, asking if he wanted to try some. Before she finished speaking, Jin Xiaojun naturally leaned in close. He lowered his head and gently took a bite from her hand. Wu Shan-yi was completely stunned, her hand holding the cookie frozen in midair. The sound of crunching was especially clear in the quiet classroom. Then, he once again leaned in and took the rest of the cookie directly from her hand. He slung his backpack on and said, "Let's go to the stunned Wu Shani." That night, Wu Shani was at home, enjoying the delicious taste of fresh lettuce wrapped with sauce, feeling happy and satisfied. However, as her tongue tasted the freshness of the vegetables, the scene from after school replayed in her mind. That natural intimacy and sudden closeness. It was far beyond her expectations. Recalling it now, the memory was still vivid in her heart. On the way back from cram school, Lucan was walking with two close friends. When one of them suggested going to a convenience store, Lucan's gaze was caught by Wu Shani walking ahead. He proactively greeted Wu Shani. In their brief conversation, he learned that she was rushing to her new part-time job at a fruit store. Lucan asked a key question: if the cassette tape recording had been converted to a USB drive. He was genuinely happy to get an affirmative answer. After saying, "See you tomorrow," to each other, Wu Shani hurried away. The two friends who witnessed the whole thing were surprised that Lucan was acquainted with Wu Shani. Lucan frankly admitted their relationship. However, the friends immediately showed disdain, simply because the two didn't seem to match. They started mocking Wu Shani's outdated clothes and hairstyle. Lucan's brow furrowed slightly, feeling uncomfortable inside. This malicious mockery was like a sharp thorn, completely shattering Lucan's patience. His face darkened, and with an unprecedented tone, he ordered, "Both of you, shut up. Your mouths are disgusting." His friends were stunned by his outburst, both embarrassed and confused. They argued that they were just saying what they saw, not making things up. A strong sense of disgust and pain churned inside Lucan. He couldn't face them anymore. He ignored their questions and the invitation to the convenience store, turning and walking away decisively. He left his astonished friends standing there, shocked that their always smiling friend could become like this. Wu Shan-yi worked enthusiastically and diligently at the fruit store. Her efforts not only attracted customers, but also earned her a box of grapes from the owner. She went home tired but satisfied, calculating that her part-time income could now cover next month's management fees. Tasting the sweet and juicy grapes, a sense of happiness washed over her. She carefully divided the grapes, giving a portion to the security guard downstairs, and another portion to Lucan's mother to share the joy. Meanwhile, Lucan, back at home, was deeply caught in the hurt caused by his friends and his own confusion. He irritably ignored the constant apology messages from his friends on his phone, his heart filled with conflict. They were friends for many years, yet right now, he didn't even want to hear their voices, let alone accept their apologies. He scratched his head in frustration, unable to understand why he felt so alienated. When his mother called him to eat grapes, he was in a low mood and should have refused. But upon hearing they were from Shani, he immediately rushed out of his room to ask if she was still there. Learning that she had already left, a trace of disappointment welled up in Lucan's heart. He could only silently gaze at the luscious grapes, as if they were the only link to that misunderstood girl. To return Park Eun-ju's textbook, Hong Chi-bin met up with her and Lee Yeni. As soon as they met, he demanded coffee as a reward for delivering the book personally, which made Park Eun-ju extremely annoyed. Due to their outstanding looks, the three of them attracted attention in the coffee shop and were mistaken for idols. Trainee Lee Yeni cut to the core topic, questioning why he was getting close to Shani, even making the crazy move of transferring schools. And how did he manage to transfer directly and even get into the same class? Hong Chi-bin explained lightly that he used the fact that Shani's uncle and his own father are friends. When they excitedly asked how much he knew about Shani's current situation, Hong Chi-bin's expression suddenly became serious and pained. He confessed that he didn't know. "I really want to know too. Why is she living that kind of life?" This sentence revealed his strong confusion and desire to understand Shani's current life. The summer heat was stifling, and the teenager's emotions were surging like an undercurrent. Jin Xiaojun stood at the classroom door, blocked by Hong Chi-bin, who was deliberately in his way. He stood in front of the door like a wall, as if this confrontation was an interesting game. In the cafeteria, Jin Xiaojun and Lu Kin were eating. Hong Chi-bin suddenly appeared and unceremoniously took a sausage from Jin Xiaojun's plate, stuffing it into his own mouth. Jin Xiaojun didn't react, but in his heart, he had already labeled this guy as childish. During basketball class, Hong Chi-bin prepared to throw the ball at Jin Xiaojun. The next second, the ball flew with a speed that was almost malicious. But Jin Xiaojun reacted even faster, dodging to the side. Jin Xiaojun looked at him. He finally confirmed that this guy was the king of childishness. Hong Chi-bin sat on Jin Xiaojun's desk, his eyes following the class president and Wu Shani. The class president asked Wu Shani for help. She picked up some tools and followed him. Hong Chi-bin stared at her back, then suddenly spoke to Jin Xiaojun. Shani has been popular since she was little, but I didn't expect it to be the same here. Jin Xiaojun asked coolly, "Someone said you and Shan have been friends since you were little." He stared at Jin Xiaojun with a triumphant smile. "We're not just ordinary friends." He deliberately lowered his voice, a boastful look on his face. "Since we were kids, she's been my rumored girlfriend." Jin Xiaojun's pupils contracted. He froze for a moment as a memory surfaced. At their old school, Hong Chi-bin stopped Wu Shani, asking her why she didn't reply to his messages. He took out a jewelry box, inside which lay a pair of exquisite earrings. He showed off his own earring as if presenting a treasure, expecting her to be surprised. But Wu Shan just coldly refused. "I don't want it. Why should I wear the same one as you?" He disappointedly pointed to the other girls in the classroom. Because Hong Chi-bin said he spent 2 months making them, she finally softened. Then Hong Chi-bin said he had her initials engraved on the earrings. She lowered her head to look at them. He took the opportunity to offer to help her put them on, but she looked up sullenly, and her lips unexpectedly brushed against his. That momentary touch made them both freeze. Wu Shani quickly broke away, embarrassed and helpless. But Hong Chi-bin stood frozen, the momentary touch of her lips leaving him stunned for a long time. In his heart, he wasn't actually sure if that brief touch really counted. Jin Xiaojun looked at him expressionlessly. "Oh what? Why are you telling me this?" Hong Chi-bin was taken aback. Could it be that this guy doesn't care about kissing? A trace of defeat rose in his heart. The once talented daughter of a wealthy family, who lost her parents in an accident, resolutely ran away from home and started living a life of poverty. Her rumored mysterious boyfriend couldn't let her go and stormed into the school, vowing to take her back. After school, Hong Chi-bin still followed behind Wu Shani, watching her skillfully pick up trash by the river. He suddenly spoke up. "Shani, do you still have that pair of earrings I gave you?" Without turning her head, Wu Shani asked back, "Earrings? What earrings?" His chest tightened. As expected, she had long forgotten. He tried to remind her that it was a birthday present he had made by hand. But the word birthday seemed to touch a nerve. She coldly threw out, "I don't know," and walked away quickly. Hong Chi-bin smiled bitterly and comforted himself. All right, that's the boundary for today. He still couldn't figure her out, and he was still unwilling to give up. In a high-end mansion at night, Wu Shani's uncle learned that she had come back once. The butler reported that she came to take the cassette tapes his wife had collected and also took the matching cassette player, then never appeared again. The uncle remembered that cassette player, an old item bought with her first paycheck. Meanwhile, Wu Shani's maternal uncle and aunt were emotional, clamoring to bring her back, expressing how much they've missed her for months. Wu Shani was working her part-time job delivering fruit. She dutifully handed the goods to a teacher and promised to be available whenever needed. While waiting for the teacher to move the items, she keenly noticed several children laughingly hitting Jean Mo11 with a toy hammer. Jean Mo11 didn't react at all. Her silent endurance only encouraged the children's teasing. Shani immediately stepped forward to stop them, warning them that their friend would get hurt and encouraging Mo11 to learn to speak up and protect herself. And Mo11, who had been quiet all along, recognized the older sister who had helped her before. She suddenly rushed into Shani's arms and hugged her tightly. The children, mistaking Wu Shani for Jean Mo11's mother, ran away in a panic. Wu Shani recognized her as her classmate Jean Moya's younger sister, Jean Mo11. Jean Mo11 hugged her tightly and wouldn't let go, showing a rare dependence. Wu Shani explained that she was her classmate's sister. The teacher was surprised by Mo11's reaction because Jean Mo11 wasn't even like this with her own older sister. Coincidentally, Liu Can's younger brother, Xiao Hao, was also among the children. When Xiao Hao saw her, he bowed politely at a 90-degree angle. The teacher tried to pull Mo11 away, but the girl was surprisingly strong, gripping tightly onto Shani's clothes. The scene became chaotic for a moment. Finally, amidst the teacher's anxious calls and Shani's helpless attempts to soothe her, Mo11's attachment became a spectacle at the kindergarten. By the school basketball court, Jin Xiaojun was on the phone with his mother, proactively taking on the responsibility of communicating with his father. He postponed their meeting this week due to exams, promising to contact her after they were over. This was completely different from his past attitude of resisting his mother, which surprised Liu Kan, who was listening nearby. Facing Liu Kan's question, Xiaojun first said casually that it was fine, then corrected himself to it should be fine. He revealed a key point. He had found someone who captured his attention. Xiaojun looked at a message from his father and guessed in a low voice that his mother had contacted his father right after hanging up. These words made Liu Kan's expression instantly fall. He struggled, wanting to ask if the person who captured his attention was Shani. But before the words came out, Jin Xiaojun suddenly changed the subject. Liu Kan was startled, his heart filled with doubt. He strongly suspected that the person Jin Xiaojun mentioned was Wu Shani, but he failed to ask due to cowardice or bad timing. The once talented girl unexpectedly lost her parents, resolutely abandoned her perfect life, and started living in poverty. Her rumored mysterious boyfriend, unable to forget her, stormed into the school, vowing to take her back. In Chinese class, the transfer student Hong Chi-bin raised his hand, lying that he didn't have the new textbook, and asked to share with his deskmate, Wu Shani. He immediately pushed their desks together. Wu Shani saw through his scheme at a glance and questioned him in a low voice. Hong Chi-bin proudly admitted it and deliberately glanced in Jin Xiaojun's direction to observe his reaction. But Jin Xiaojun remained expressionless. Hong Chi-bin rested his chin on one hand, gazing at Wu Shani's bare face. Although her current appearance was the complete opposite of the Wu Shani he liked, he poked a notebook, signaling for Wu Shani to look. He had drawn a star pattern in the notebook. Wu Shani found it boring and directly covered the notebook with her left hand. The sound of a marker dropping drew the teacher's attention, and Hong Chi-bin had to explain. The bell rang, and the teacher left. Hong Chi-bin stretched. At this moment, Jin Xiaojun suddenly got up and walked over to Hong Chi-bin. With one hand, he violently dragged his desk to the side of the classroom, where it hit the wall with a loud noise. The whole class was shocked, wondering if the two were about to fight. Wu Shani also stared with wide, surprised eyes. Jin Xiaojun coldly ordered Hong Chi-bin, "Go back to your seat now." After a brief standoff, to everyone's surprise, Hong Chi-bin actually grinned and moved the desk back himself that I'll go back to my own seat. The classmates who wanted to see a show were disappointed. Jin Xiaojun silently returned to his seat. Wu Shani was still stimulated by Jin Xiaojun's action, while the outwardly compliant Hong Chi-bin had a sharp look in his eyes. "So you want to play this game with me?" The once talented girl unexpectedly lost her parents, resolutely abandoned her perfect life, and started living in poverty. After school, Jean Emoya came to pick up her sister, Jean Mo11. She tried to get Mo11 to say goodbye to the teacher, but Mo11 didn't react. Jean Emoya had to apologize for her. The teacher said she understood and mentioned Mo11 is very expressive in front of your friend. She described the scene where Wu Shani stopped the kids from bullying Mo11 and held her. As the teacher recounted this, Jean Mo11, who had been silent, actually bowed to the teacher to say goodbye. Jean Emoya was confused about who it was. The teacher added a key clue. "That person gave me a business card. It said Handyman Shani." On the way home, Jean Emoya helplessly asked her sister when she would be willing to speak up and protect herself. But Mo11 remained silent. Jean Emoya sighed inwardly, realizing that perhaps she had no right to lecture her either. The next day, Wu Shani's mind was completely occupied with worrying about her livelihood. Her fingers flew across her phone screen, meticulously calculating every expense. Suddenly, a piece of chocolate was tossed on her desk. Wu Shani looked up and saw Jean Emoya, her face bright red and her expression extremely awkward. Jean Emoya quickly returned to her seat, overwhelmed by a strong sense of shame. Wu Shani stared in confusion at the flustered Jean Emoya. On the other side, Liu Kan was discussing crushes with his deskmate. The deskmate described his heart-fluttering experience with a girl from the academy. Liu Kan was lost in thought, trying to understand the feeling of liking someone. For this reason, he specifically went to ask Jin Xiaojun if he had ever liked anyone. Jin Xiaojun thought for a moment and described it in his own unique way. Wanted to always be by their side, feeling uneasy when not looking at them. Wanted to take care of them when you see them, being afraid they'll be led astray by someone else if they go somewhere alone. Lucan found this analogy a bit strange. Jin Xiaojun then clearly indicated that Shawnee was that kind of existence to him, admitting he wasn't sure of the definition of like. At the same time, elsewhere, the handsome Hong Chi-bin was being confessed to by a girl asking for his number. He rejected her in his usual seemingly polite but actually cruel way. The person I want to hold in my arms all day and kiss until their legs go weak. I already have someone, so you can go. A new friend who witnessed this exclaimed that he was too cruel and wondered if he really had a girlfriend. But Hong Chi-bin didn't respond, leaving his friend with a puzzled look. Don't go away. Exciting bonus clip. Jin Xiaojun's strong possessiveness towards Wu Shani, a foreshadowing law. When will Lu can awaken and realize his own feelings? Hong Chi-bin's mysterious and exclusive declaration of feelings. The cute, emoji-like expressions of a childish ghost. The once talented girl unexpectedly lost her parents, resolutely abandoned her perfect life, and started living in poverty. The president of the Film Studies Club handed a stack of club satisfaction surveys to Jin Xiaojun, asking him to distribute them to the junior members. Jin Xiaojun was walking while checking the class of each member listed on the surveys. A sudden gust of wind snatched the papers he wasn't holding tightly, just as the documents were scattering in the air. Wu Shani, like a precise dancer, with a few swift and graceful movements, instantly gathered all the scattered questionnaires, finishing with a cool pose like a swordsman. She handed the organized papers to Jin Xiaojun, telling him to be careful. However, Wu Shani then noticed that one questionnaire had been blown onto the roof of the rest pavilion. She was like an agile rabbit, repeatedly jumping by the side of the pavilion, stretching her arm, but always coming up just a little short. Jin Xiaojun suggested lifting her up. Wu Shani, focused on the target, hadn't fully understood his words. When she felt her body suddenly being lifted, Jin Xiaojun's hands were firmly holding her waist, lifting her upwards. The sudden contact and being lifted into the air made her stare blankly at the pavilion. Jin Xiaojun urged her to hurry. She quickly used a tool to grab that mischievous questionnaire. She turned back to report her success to him. Jin Xiaojun looked up at her, surprised at how light she was, even thinking he could just carry her away like this. After putting her down, Wu Shani asked a bit shyly if she was heavy. Jin Xiaojun immediately gave a firm no. He couldn't help but remind her with concern, "You should eat more usually." The once talented girl unexpectedly lost her parents, resolutely abandoned her perfect life, and started living in poverty. She thought her life would be a mess, but instead, she entered a battlefield of boy idols. Even the popular, angel-faced Lu Ken was struck by her charm and went straight. While vacuuming, Wu Shani realized she had lost more than 10 Jin since leaving home to live independently, but she attributed it to being too diligent. Lu Kan's mother happened to come back from the supermarket, saw Wu Shani at home, and warmly invited her over to help make kimchi. Wu Shani's eyes widened in pleasant surprise, and she happily agreed. Not long after, Lu Kan returned home. As soon as he entered, he heard his mother's and Wu Shani's voices coming from the kitchen. Walking into the kitchen, he saw Wu Shani sitting there. Lu Kan's mom greeted her son and told him to sit down and eat with them. She thoughtfully hand-fed a piece to Wu Shani to taste, so she wouldn't get her hands dirty, telling her to open her mouth. This intimate gesture made Wu Shani deeply feel the beauty of a family. Lu Kan asked if the kimchi was good. Wu Shani humbly said it was. While washing the dishes, Lu Kan's mom enthusiastically told Wu Shani to take some home. Lu Kan tentatively asked if she could handle the spiciness. Wu Shani confidently said it wasn't spicy at all, and emphasized that she wasn't interested in spicy food. However, as soon as the words left her mouth, she couldn't help but make a sound, admitting it was indeed a bit spicy. Lu Kan looked at her, trying to endure it, his eyes full of adoration. This expression was caught by his mother, making her feel a bit surprised. Lu Kan quickly handed over a glass of ice water. Wu Shan-yi stubbornly refused, claiming she would conquer the spiciness. In the end, she still took the ice water and drank it all. Lu Kan watched her and gently asked if she felt better. She stubbornly explained that she was just feeling warm, but inwardly, she was relieved that the spiciness had subsided. Lu Kan's mom silently observed her son's unusual expression, feeling a sense of inexplicable relief in her heart. Returning home with rice and kimchi, Wu Shani's eyes sparkled. Her heart felt full. She actually had this. Thinking about how she didn't help much, she was full of gratitude for Liu Kan's mom. She carefully placed the kimchi in the fridge, but couldn't bear to close the door. Meanwhile, Liu Kan, who had just showered, was drying his wet hair with a towel. A question bothered him. What is the law of liking? He had never thought deeply about this question. Jin Xiaojun clearly knew the answer. So why did he have to mention Wu Shani? This question lingered in his mind. There was no answer, only the memory of that touch. Night fell. Wu Shani's uncle and aunt were sitting in the living room of their high-end mansion. The topic inadvertently turned to Wu Shani. The uncle mentioned that Shani had come back before and taken her older sister's precious cassette tapes, even taking the cassette player with her. The aunt immediately understood what he meant. Those weren't ordinary objects, but her sister's precious mementos from her school days. The tapes were bought with money she earned from her hard work, although the cassette player was just a second-hand item. The uncle nodded in confirmation, his tone tinged with a distant nostalgia. That cassette player represented a time in his sister's life that, despite material scarcity, was filled with pure happiness. The aunt looked at her husband's pained expression, an unspeakable sorrow rising in her heart. The heavy grief weighed on both of them. The regret and sorrow of losing a loved one was a void that no miracle could ever fill. The once talented girl unexpectedly lost her parents, resolutely abandoned her perfect life, and started living a life of poverty. Her rumored mysterious boyfriend, unable to forget her, stormed into the school, vowing to take her back. On a summer morning, the sunlight already carried a scorching heat. Before going to school, Wu Shani was especially careful as she wiped her mother's memento, that box of precious cassette tapes. After wiping them, she gently placed them back in the storage box for safekeeping. Wu Shani decided to leave the cassette player, which carried her mother's presence, at home from now on. Her gaze fell on the only family photo on her desk. It was a moment captured in an amusement park with her parents when she was a child. The three people in the photo were smiling without a care in the world. Gazing at her parents' smiles, a sense of guilt quietly crept into her heart. The scorching sun baked the earth, and the sound of cicadas was incessant. Wu Shani walked down the road, her fingers tapping away on her phone screen. Just as she was concentrating, a hand holding an earphone reached out without warning and directly inserted the earphone into her right ear. Wu Shani was startled by this sudden touch and looked unhappily in the direction the hand came from, questioning, "Who is it?" The face that met her eyes was Hong Chi Bin's, looking somewhat triumphant. He complained that he had been waiting here for a long time. Wu Shani, with a look of disgust, immediately tried to give the earphone back to him. But Hong Chi Bin warned her with a straight face, saying he was observing the boundaries. Then he directly put his left arm around Wu Shani's shoulder. "Since I've already crossed the line, I might as well take a big step forward." She immediately struggled fiercely, shouting at Hong Chi Bin to let her go. After some pulling and shoving, Wu Shani emerged victorious. With a quick movement, she grabbed a handful of Hong Chi Bin's hair. Hong Chi Bin immediately surrendered, unable to help but mutter how Wu Shani seemed even tougher than before. The once talented girl unexpectedly lost her loved one, resolutely abandoned her perfect life, and started living a life of poverty. The girl is pragmatic and tough, clear-headed and independent. The boy is thrifty and good at housekeeping, hitting it off with the girl. The energetic, home-loving boy gradually develops a protective instinct for the poor girl. After gym class, the air conditioning in the locker room was on for a rare moment, the coolness temporarily dispelling the summer heat. The girls excitedly discussed Jin Xiaojun's handsome figure while running, mentioning that Hong Chi Bin also ran very fast. But then someone pointed out doubtfully, wondering if it was just their imagination, and was curious if the two were very close. The focus of the discussion quickly shifted to Wu Shani, pointing out that both Jin Xiaojun and Hong Chi Bin were very familiar with her. With more malice, they expressed their disdain for Wu Shani's poverty, even saying that seeing her close to Hong Chi Bin made them inexplicably angry. In this hostile atmosphere, Jin and Moya's voice rang out coldly, simply saying they were too loud. The girls who were in the middle of their discussion immediately turned their verbal attacks on Jin and Moya. Jin and Moya didn't back down, directly pointing out their envy and jealousy of Wu Shani. Seeing the conflict escalate, other classmates, worried they would start fighting, quickly intervened to calm the argument. Wu Shani remained silent from beginning to end. To her, the noise in the locker room was far less important than the pressure of making a living. She checked to see if anyone needed the services of handyman Shani. In the face of the heavy burden of survival, the girl's jealousy and gossip seemed so pale. Just as Wu Shani left the locker room, she was called by the class president for help. The class president led her to the indoor basketball court, which was cluttered with equipment, explaining that the other students had run off without cleaning up. Fortunately, Jin Xiaojun had voluntarily stayed behind. Seeing Wu Shani, Jin Xiaojun appeared calm on the surface, but a trace of warmth quietly passed through his heart. The class president said happily that it was great to have Wu Shani join them. Wu Shanyi raised her hands high, signaling for Jin Xiaojun to throw the ball over so she could put it in the basket and they could move it together. Jin Xiaojun responded by grabbing a ball with one hand, indicating he was ready to throw. Wu Shani immediately got into a catching position. However, the ball that Jin Xiaojun threw with only 30% of his strength bounced in front of Wu Shani and, due to the force, hit her squarely on the chin with a smack. Witnessing this, Jin Xiaojun panicked instantly. He rushed to Wu Shani's side, nervously asking about her condition. Wu Shani clutched her chin, hissing in pain, but stubbornly said she was fine. Jin Xiaojun was extremely anxious and dropped to his knees in front of Wu Shani. His eyes were full of worry and guilt. Staring at her injured chin, his voice was filled with self-blame as he asked if it hurt a lot, blaming himself for throwing the ball too hard. Wu Shani was a bit flustered by his sudden close inspection and quickly said she was fine. As Wu Shani subconsciously took a step back, she stepped on a basketball that had rolled behind her. Instantly losing her balance, she cried out and fell backward. In the nick of time, a pair of hands from behind Wu Shani firmly caught her. Along with a gotcha, it turned out to be the class president, who had reacted quickly and averted the crisis. Jin Xiaojun broke out in a cold sweat, and this scene was witnessed by Hong Chi-bin, who had just arrived, panting, at the entrance of the gym. Hong Chi-bin had waited for a long time in the classroom for Wu Shani, but she didn't return. He heard classmates discussing that the class president was left alone in the gym, and that Wu Shani and Jin Xiaojun were sent to help. These words prompted Hong Chi-bin to immediately run to the gym. However, when he reached the entrance, he saw the scene of Jin Xiaojun kneeling before Wu Shani. A strong sense of dissatisfaction and disgust rose in Hong Chi-bin. He didn't go in, just watched Jin Xiaojun coldly. Noticing a figure at the entrance, he immediately turned to look, but only saw an empty doorway. Hong Chi-bin had already left quietly, feeling displeased. The once talented girl unexpectedly lost her parents, resolutely abandoned her perfect life, and started living a life of poverty. Her rumored mysterious boyfriend, unable to forget her, stormed into the school, vowing to take her back. And the strong-willed and independent Wu Shani immediately attracted the attention of the most popular boy at her new school. The energetic, home-loving boy gradually develops a protective instinct for the poor girl. In the residential complex where Wu Shani lives, the security guard was busy helping residents register for recycling applications. At this moment, a suspicious figure quietly slipped into the apartment building. She skillfully entered the apartment password and slipped into the elevator. After reaching the target floor, she looked around cautiously. Finally, she stopped in front of Wu Shani's apartment and put down a black box. She then turned and left like a secret agent who had completed a mission. Liu Kan's mother, who was in the same elevator, witnessed the girl's entire action. Meanwhile, inside the apartment, Wu Shani was immersed in happiness. She was wearing new clothes given to her by the Annie from her part-time job. Today she was going to work at the coffee shop. She had to dress up a bit. As she was about to leave, she found the door was blocked by something from the outside. After pushing the door open with force, a black backpack appeared before her. The moment she saw it, she immediately guessed it was a delivery from Sister Xiao Tao. Liu Kan's mother passed by and pointed at the large black backpack, telling her that she saw someone leave it at the door. Wu Shani asked if she got a clear look at the person. Liu Kan's mother roughly described the girl. Wu Shani thought, it really is Sister Xiao Tao. Sister Li Rin questioned Sister Xiao Tao. Did you look at my phone? I warned you not to go find Shani. What if she disappears again because of this? Xiao Tao retorted, she's already as thin as a matchstick. If this goes on, she's going to collapse. I've been so worried about Shani lately that I can't sleep well. It's not that I don't feel for her. I know you girls are close, but you also need to eat on time and sleep well. Otherwise, you'll collapse before Shawnee does. She sobbed and called out to Sisterly Run like a wrong child. Sisterly Run demanded that Xiaotown never go again, wondering to herself how she managed to unlock her phone password. The neon lights of the business district flickered at night. Hong Chi-bin stood at a street corner. The person on the other end of the phone complained that he had left in the middle of things again, blaming him that it wasn't fun without him. Hong Chi-bin replied with "It's boring," and ended the call. His gaze, however, was drawn to a scene ahead. Two female university students were hitting on Jin Xiaojun, inviting him to a bar. Jin Xiaojun refused on the grounds that he was a student, but they persisted, asking which university he attended. Before Jin Xiaojun could answer, Hong Chi-bin interjected, stating bluntly that Jin Xiaojun was much younger than them. The university girls exclaimed, "What a pity," and their attention was immediately drawn to Hong Chi-bin, inviting him instead. Hong Chi-bin replied that he was even younger than Jin Xiaojun. The university girls had to leave, excitedly discussing how incredibly handsome the two boys were, their height, and their nice voices. Hong Chi-bin looked directly at Jin Xiaojun's unfazed face. "Why do these kinds of things always happen to you? To get closer to Shawnee, I have to force myself on her, and even now I'm still struggling desperately. In comparison, Shawnee lets you stay by her side so easily. Aren't you being a bit too unreasonable?" Jin Xiaojun remained silent, but his eyes made it impossible for Hong Chi-bin to guess his thoughts. Just then, a familiar figure broke the tense air between them. Wu Shawnee, who had just finished her part-time job, was walking by. "Fancy meeting you guys here." She took out 2 bundles of green onions and stuffed them into their hands. They were a gift from her boss, and she told them to each take one home. Acting like a nagging old lady, she told them not to fight and to go home early, wash up, and sleep. The random green onions left Hong Chi-bin and Jin Xiaojun standing there, filled with only one question: what on earth is going on? The rumored talented girl unexpectedly lost her parents. Wanting only to punish herself, she chose a different way to live, resolutely abandoning her perfect life and starting a life of poverty. On his way home, Lucan received a text from Jin Xiaojun asking why he missed basketball. He replied briefly. Something came up. He didn't reply to Jin Xiaojun's follow-up questions. He comforted himself that he wasn't intentionally avoiding him, but that something really did happen. As he was walking with a heavy heart, he looked up and saw Wu Shawnee ahead. He was just about to call out to Shawnee when, before he could speak, a high-end sedan screeched to a halt beside her. The car door flew open and a man got out, accompanied by Wu Shawnee's terrified shout. Lucan's heart stopped. Fear instantly drowned out all other thoughts. His body moved faster than his brain. He shot forward like an arrow and pulled Wu Shawnee tightly into his arms from behind, his hostile gaze fixed on the man who had just gotten out of the car. Lucan stood like a wall in front of Wu Shawnee and urgently asked if she knew him. Wu Shawnee admitted she didn't know the man, but she knew the person inside the car. She hesitated for a moment and firmly stepped forward, telling Lucan she needed to handle it herself. She walked to the car and spoke earnestly to the closed window, repeatedly begging them not to disturb her. She admitted her choice was willful and selfish, but insisted it was the right path, stating that even if they forced her away, she would come back. There was a moment of silence from inside the car. Then came a command, "Let's go." The sedan drove away. Watching the car leave, Lucan worriedly asked if Wu Shawnee was okay, asking if she had trouble breathing, dizziness, or other anxiety symptoms. This extraordinary concern made her heart soften. Lucan confessed that her panic shout earlier had made him very worried about her health. Wu Shawnee explained that she had been taking medication recently, and her anxiety was not as severe as before. Lucan felt a little relieved and curiously asked about the identity of the person in the car. Upon learning they were relatives, Lucan panicked, regretting that he might have been meddling. Wu Shawnee quickly reassured him. Her eyes dimmed with self-blame, thinking it was all her fault. Looking at her, Lucan fell into deep distress. Back home, he could only confide his worries to his little white dog. If they were relatives, why was Wu Shawnee so nervous and resistant? What kind of past was hidden behind her self-proclaimed willfulness? Although he was dying of curiosity, he warned himself not to ask, for fear of touching upon her painful memories. He buried his head in frustration, not knowing how to help her, only muttering, "Shawnee, you're not stupid at all, because I'm afraid Shawnee will be hurt." In the luxurious apartment, the aunt sighed in frustration, complaining sadly, a total failure. Not only did she fail to bring Shawnee home for dinner, but because a little boy interfered, it seemed to make Shawn even angrier. Worried about being disliked by her niece, they silently listened to the aunt's grumbling. The rumored talented girl unexpectedly lost her parents. Wanting only to punish herself, she chose a different way to live, resolutely abandoning her perfect life and starting a life of poverty. One day at school, Jean Xiaojun and Lu met at the door of the Film Studies Club. Jean Xiaojun asked bluntly if they had a fight. Lucan denied it, but wondered why he had the impression they were fighting. He explained he was just there to hand in the survey and left in a hurry. Jean Xiaojun asked if he was deliberately avoiding him, pointing out that he hadn't been looking for him, texting, or calling recently. Lucan nervously explained it was because he was busy, not that he was intentionally hiding, but inwardly he cursed his own terrible behavior. Suddenly, with a thud, Lucan turned to find that Jean Xiaojun had walked into the doorframe. Jean Xiaojun explained it was because he suddenly felt dizzy. Lucan was surprised that the Iron Man, Jean Xiaojun, could also get dizzy. Jean Xiaojun admitted he hadn't been feeling well since the morning, perhaps because he was being isolated by someone, which was giving him a headache. Lucan couldn't deny Jean Xiaojun's charm. It was hard for anyone who had observed him up close not to be moved. Meanwhile, Wu Shani was seriously negotiating with Sister Xiao Tao on her phone, firmly demanding that she stop sending food and contacting her, stating that she didn't need help. Sister Xiao Tao's tearful and worried pleas were only met with Wu Shani's resolute, "This is the last time I'm texting you." Sister Li Rin comforted her, saying she knew this would happen and advised her not to act again. They should wait for Wu Shani to return voluntarily. Sister Xiao Tao could only accept this helplessly. During lunch, Wu Shani was helping in the cafeteria, and Annie asked with concern if helping out was affecting her studies. She frankly said she never studies. While taking out the trash, she ran into the security guard, who also asked if helping was tiring. She said she'd rather find things to do than be idle. Jean Xiaojun, on his way back to the classroom, felt a headache and muscle aches, debating whether to postpone his appointment with his mother. In the end, not wanting to sadden his mother, he decided to go. He ran into Wu Shani, who was wearing a cafeteria apron. Wu Shani explained she was helping, not working part-time, and lamented how busy the kitchen gets after the students' lunch, far beyond imagination. Jean Xiaojun listened intently, then suddenly felt a pain in his ear and pressed it. Wu Shani worried she was being too loud. Jean Xiaojun explained it was tinnitus. At that moment, a shout of "Move" was heard. Wu Shani saw a colorful ball flying towards them. Seeing that Jean Xiaojun was not reacting quickly due to his discomfort, she instinctively shielded him, taking the hit with her head. Unexpectedly, the ball was a beach ball and didn't hurt. The student who threw it apologized and left. But as Wu Shani grabbed Jean Xiaojun's arm, she noticed his body temperature was abnormally high. The next second, Jean Xiaojun couldn't hold himself up anymore, and his head rested heavily on her shoulder. He gasped for breath and apologized, his face unusually flushed. Hong Chi-bin, observing from the shadows, thought that if it was a foregone conclusion that Jean Xiaojun would be forced to stay by Wu Shani's side by coincidence, he was determined to change it. Witnessing the scene of Jean Xiaojun leaning on Wu Shani, he instantly rushed out, roughly pushed Jean Xiaojun away, and pulled Wu Shani into his arms, separating the two. He was pleased with himself for not letting Jean Xiaojun have her all to himself. Wu Shani was too stunned by the action to react for a moment. Shani shook off his arm and angrily questioned why he would push a sick person so hard. Hong Chi-bin didn't believe Jean Xiaojun was sick. He mocked the big guy for faking illness and reached out to pat Jean Xiaojun's forehead to check. The moment they touched, his eyes met Jean Xiaojun's. But his eyes showed no sign of illness, only a cold, murderous intent. Hong Chi-bin, shocked, pointed out the murderous look in his eyes to Wu Shani. Wu Shani insisted he had a high fever and demanded Hong Chi-bin feel again. Hong Chi-bin refused. Feeling that Jean Xiaojun would wait until their argument was over, the extremely unwell Jean Xiaojun silently turned and left. Wu Shani seriously questioned his behavior. He told himself that this was not the old Wu Shanyi who used to chase after him. Her appearance and behavior had all changed, and she was determined not to return. He should see that clearly and stop his boring antics. But Hong Chi-bin pointed a finger at her face and admitted she had changed, especially her hairstyle, and said he was insanely curious about this ugly monster. Why did Wu Shanyi want to get away from him so badly and live alone in a strange place? This curiosity was driving him crazy. Wu Shanyi was speechless. The rumored talented girl unexpectedly lost her parents, wanting only to punish herself and live a different life. She resolutely abandoned her perfect life and started living in poverty. Jin Xiaojun, who had taken sick leave, was the cause of his father's concern. His father, Mr. Jin, asked about his condition and if he had taken his medicine. Learning that his son had bought medicine but hadn't eaten, he ordered porridge and told him to eat it before taking the medicine. Though busy at the company, he was still worried about his son being home alone. He reported to his manager that the inheritance case files were sorted. The manager said he had worked hard and praised his thorough preparation and the smooth process. Mr. Jin was relieved. This move had completely blocked those who were after his assets. At home, Jin Xiaojun refused his father's suggestion to hire a cleaner, insisting on doing the housework himself, claiming he liked it. In reality, he was cleaning while coughing violently, his condition looking dire. In the evening, Wu Shanyi received her wages from the coffee shop. The manager was very satisfied with her performance and asked her to come back next time. On her way home, she unexpectedly heard the voices of her former best friends. They were searching for her nearby. Li Juun was insistent on a chance encounter, while Park Sang-yi was tired and wanted to give up. Wu Shanyi hid behind a trash can, hearing that they had been looking for her all day. She strengthened her resolve to stick to the path she had chosen, not wanting to return to the comfortable life she had before. The next day, the teacher announced that Jin Xiaojun was on sick leave for a day due to the flu. Only then did Hong Chi-bin believe he was really sick that day. Wu Shanyi looked worriedly at Jin Xiaojun's desk and took the initiative to tell Luke the situation. Luke was very surprised and said he didn't know. Wu Shanyi mentioned that she discovered Xiaojun had the flu yesterday. Luke checked his phone and saw that Jin Xiaojun hadn't replied to his messages, guessing that Jin Xiaojun was home alone. Wu Shan, it was a bit curious why he was home alone. Did I ask his mother not there either? After school, Luke rushed to Jin Xiaojun's house. He rang the doorbell repeatedly with no response and became very worried. Finally, Jin Xiaojun's hoarse voice came through the intercom, asking who it was. Jin Xiaojun refused to open the door, afraid of spreading the flu. Only after Lu can promise to wear a mask did the door open. Behind the door was Jin Xiaojun, with messy hair, a mask covering his face, a hoarse voice, and in a very poor state. Lucan was worried about his voice and condition. Jin Xiaojun explained he only had the strength to move after taking medicine and was going to get a mask for Luke, and Lucan saw the house was spotless and wanted to help clean, but Jin Xiaojun sat down tiredly, saying the illness wasn't serious and he didn't need help. He told Lucan to sit far away to avoid getting infected and explained that doing housework was a way to rest and feel better. Lucan helplessly praised him as the best. Then he took an orange out of his bag, saying it was a get-well gift from Shawnee. Jin Xiaojun took the orange, surprised. His already flushed cheeks seemed to turn even redder. He stared blankly at the orange, as if seeing Shawnee herself. Witnessing this, Lucan felt an inexplicable sense of discomfort and loneliness, feeling like he had glimpsed an unknown side of the relationship between the two. He ruffled his hair to dispel his wild thoughts. At the supermarket, Wu Shani faced a buy one get one free promotion she wanted, but felt disappointed because it required 2 people. She desperately wanted to contact Jin Xiaojun, but struggled with whether to disturb him while he was sick. In the end, she gave up on the promotion and left empty-handed and dejected. Hearing other people who participated in the promotion sharing their joy over the discount, she felt she had missed a great opportunity and missed Jin Xiaojun even more. The next day, Jin Xiaojun, not yet fully recovered, canceled his sick leave and went to school with a mask on because he missed Wu Shani. He ran into Wu Shani on the way and greeted her. Wu Shani was overjoyed, shouting Xiaojun as she ran towards him, but she unexpectedly twisted her ankle. She pitched forward, falling towards him. In her panic, she grabbed onto him, even pulling down one side of his mask. She heard Jin Xiaojun's loud, thumping heartbeat. Jin Xiaojun asked if she needed help standing. The close proximity of his voice made Wu Shan jump back in a fluster, awkwardly explaining it was nothing. She lamented to herself why she was always so clumsy around him. Jin Xiaojun teased her for a rare change. I didn't know you only liked me. This left Wu Shan momentarily helpless. She then brought up the supermarket's buy one get one free promotion. Wu Shani immediately became angry, complaining that because he was absent, she missed out on the half-price deal, admitting she was addicted to half-price sales. Jin Xiaojun asked why she didn't text him. Wu Shani explained it was because he was sick and she couldn't bother him. Jin Xiaojun felt guilty for not being there for her, leaving her to face it alone. Hearing the word alone, Wu Shani looked up, startled. A warning bell went off in her mind as she reflected on when she had started to rely on Jin Xiaojun. She was supposed to walk this path alone. She hadn't made a mistake. A greeting from a classmate interrupted her thoughts. Jin Xiaojun explained that these people were from the film studies club. Wu Shani was distracted, continuing to fret about relying too much on Jin Xiaojun. The rumored talented girl unexpectedly lost her parents, wanting only to punish herself and live a different life. She resolutely abandoned her perfect life and started living in poverty. During a break, the class president asked Wu Shani to help move an old desk to an empty space. Wu Shani asked the class president if she would miss the buy one get one free sale. After getting an affirmative answer, she used this to convince herself that she was only looking for Jin Xiaojun for the discount. The class president told her to put the desk in the warehouse and then rushed to the faculty office. At that moment, her phone rang. Thinking it was a message about a part-time job, she happily put down the desk to check. But Hong Chi-bin suddenly appeared, plopping down on the desk with his back to her. Wu Shani asked what he was doing. Hong Chi-bin claimed he was letting her have a look. Wu Shani was confused. To look at what? At me, of course. Hong Chi-bin then turned around, tousled his hair, showed off his handsome face, and began a flamboyant monologue, lamenting that transferring schools had only made her relationship with others better, while he was like a neglected husband, complaining that he couldn't just stuff her in his pocket. Wu Shan-yi was speechless. An upperclassman shouted for Hong Chi-bin from upstairs, saying she would definitely catch him tomorrow. Hong Chi-bin boasted about how popular he was and again called her an ugly monster. This time, it angered Wu Shani. She forcefully tilted the desk, sending Hong Chi-bin tumbling to the ground. Wu Shani scolded him for not having matured at all. Hong Chi-bin retorted that he had changed, and suddenly wrapped an arm around Wu Shani, striking a gentlemanly pose, and smugly asked if she wanted to continue. Wu Shani was unmoved and directly grabbed the hair on his forehead. Hong Chi-bin laughed at himself, forgetting how tough she had become. While fixing his hair, he suddenly looked into the distance and said, "Hey, uncle." Wu Shani, he thought it was another joke and turned to retort, but she froze instantly. Her uncle was really standing at the intersection, having seen everything that just happened. Wu Shani followed her uncle to the principal's office. The principal's attitude was extremely respectful. He obsequiously flattered her, saying that he had just learned she was the daughter of the former chairman and would definitely give her extra care. Wu Shan-yi felt uncomfortable listening. The principal expressed deep regret for the accidental death of the chairman and his wife, mentioning how the school had benefited from their generosity. He even feigned tears over her parents' passing and Wu Shan-yi's grief. Wu Shan-yi felt like she was sitting on pins and needles, extremely uncomfortable. She spoke up to stop the principal from continuing. The principal quickly changed his tune, claiming he was just concerned. He eagerly asked if Wu Shan-yi had any requests for the school. Wu Shani made her only request that no one at school know her identity, so she could attend school quietly. Hong Chi-bin helped Wu Shani move the desk to the warehouse. He was worried that she was forced to leave with her uncle as their relationship seemed strained. He couldn't understand why they, who were once so close, had become like this. He decided to ask his father about it. The rumored talented girl unexpectedly lost her parents, wanting only to punish herself and live a different life. She resolutely abandoned her perfect life and started living in poverty. Her uncle said on the surface, "You can't get treatment outside. If bad rumors spread, it will be a headache for me. Why do you always do things I don't like? You're already being willful enough. Can't you get treatment at the company's hospital?" The uncle clearly knew that Shawnee was suffering from anxiety, yet he subconsciously said words that hurt her. Wu Shan, he didn't respond, just listened in agony. After getting out of the car, she just stood there blankly. On the way from school, Lucan told Jin Xiaojun to go to his house, first to get some pickles. Jin Xiaojun asked abruptly, "Are you not mad at me anymore?" I'm not mad. Although I'm not sure what's going on either. But now there's a Wu Shani between us. That much is certain. Lucan didn't know how to respond. Coincidentally, Wu Shani appeared ahead of them. Why is she staring at her hand like that? Seeing her suddenly squat down, the same question popped into both of their minds. Is her anxiety acting up? Lucan lost to Shani. This time, Lucan was the first to rush towards Wu Shani. Jin Xiaojun was surprised by his action. Shani, can't you get up? What's wrong? Are you not feeling well somewhere? Jin Xiaojun also ran over. It turned out Wu Shani had just found a 51 coin on the ground. She was contemplating whether to turn the 51 over to the police. Their worried hearts finally settled. After I got out of the car, I was just standing there, and I didn't expect to find 51 lying at my feet. Lucan was curious why the usually frugal her would take a car home. Wu Shani admitted she had been taking medication and not to worry about an attack, as her anxiety had stabilized a lot. Lucan invited Wu Shani to his house, but she refused, saying she had other things to do. Thinking she was too busy and probably going to her part-time job, Jin Xiaojun had a gut feeling that something was off about her, but he couldn't put his finger on it. When Jin Xiaojun entered Lu Can's house, it was lively. The little white dog excitedly greeted Lu Can. His mom insisted Jin Xiaojun stay for dinner. The atmosphere was cheerful and warm. But across the hall, Wu Shani was having an anxiety attack, recalling what her uncle had said in the car, feeling terrible that I can't rely on them. I said I would solve this myself. How did I become so weak so quickly? Back home, Jin Xiaojun planned to eat steam bun for dinner, but he was still worried about Wu Shani. He called Wu Shani's phone, but she didn't pick up. He only sent a text saying, "You can contact me anytime." However, Wu Shani hadn't eaten and was curled up in bed alone, silently fighting her anxiety. The rumored talented girl unexpectedly lost her parents. Willful, she only wanted to punish herself and live a different life. She resolutely abandoned her perfect life and began living in poverty. Jean Moya's home. It's not like I'm the only one raising the children. You still have to give the money you're supposed to give. A father who withholds child support. Can you even call him a father? Listening to their divorced parents' arguments, the two sisters had already grown accustomed to it. Since they were young, the two sisters, Jean Moya and Jean Mashi, lived in a broken and loveless family. Jean Mashi, who suffered from aphasia, was always cared for by her older sister, Jean Moya. Although Jean Moya appeared popular at school, in reality, she had no friends to confide in. She didn't know when she would be able to complain to her younger sister about their parents. Her worries could only be buried deep in her heart. Now, she had to pay protection money to a senior every month, but she tried her best to save it to buy some food for Jean Mashi. Just then, she received a message from the senior, demanding that she bring the money tomorrow, or she would be beaten up. This made her mood even worse. Why was everyone bullying her? One day, on the way to school, Wu Shani thought of a way to combat her anxiety. She had to keep herself frantically busy. Whether it was helping an auntie pick up oranges or tidying up messy public bicycles, it was better than letting her mind wander. Even if she would be late, she chose to help an old lady carry her things first. She had to keep going like this, not letting herself stop. And so, she kept busy all the way to school. The hot summer day, combined with her busy morning, exhausted even the resilient Wu Shani. She rested her head on her desk. Completely drained, her head was very dizzy, and she even showed signs of heat stroke. Hong Qibin was on the phone with Zhu Un. He wanted to pass the phone to Wu Shani, but just then, the head teacher called Hong Qibin over. This allowed her to continue resting quietly. The sweltering heat made the students want to close the windows. However, to save on electricity, the school hadn't turned on the air conditioning. In the end, the windows remained open. The chirping of cicadas filled the summer air, a white noise unique to August. Wu Shani's drowsiness gradually deepened. Having not eaten breakfast, she was slumped over her desk. Suddenly, a wave of nausea hit her. She shot up from her seat, startling the class president. She hurriedly ran out of the classroom. The class president mistakenly thought she was rushing to the restroom. Meanwhile, the head teacher affirmed Hong Jibin's academic performance, but pointed out his past low attendance rate. He admitted to his past attendance issues and promised to strictly follow the rules in this new environment. The reason he promised not to miss a single day was so he could see Wu Shani every day. Just as Hong Jibin turned around, he ran into Jin Xiaojun. For the first time, he observed Jin Xiaojun closely and found the guy to be incredibly handsome. Then he asked, "You were in the classroom just now?" "I didn't even notice." Hong Jibin, how did you transfer to our school? How else? I came because I wanted to. Jin Xiaojun expressed his disbelief. Impossible. Even if it's impossible, I'll make it possible, because I have to be by Shani's side. Just like now, and in the future too. Facing Hong Qibin's provocation, his gaze did not waver. That's just your one-sided decision. It has nothing to do with Shani. This sentence cut straight to the point, piercing Hong Qibin's heart. For a moment, he couldn't retort. At the same time, Wu Shani's overexertion led to dizziness, heat stroke, and even nausea and vomiting. Lacking strength, she lay down to rest on a bed in the nurse's office. Before long, she received a message on her phone. She had gotten the part-time job making stir-fried rice cakes. The legendary talented girl who unexpectedly lost her parents. Willful, she only wanted to punish herself and live a different life. She resolutely abandoned her perfect life and began living in poverty. At Hong Qibin's home, Hong Qibin's dad was very satisfied with him. Although he was rebellious, he was indeed responsible for his words. After all, since transferring schools, he hadn't been late or absent. He asked his father why Shani lived separately from her uncle, that I'm sure you know the reason, but I just don't understand why you won't tell me. His dad said he really didn't know. Hong Qibin's dad doted on his only son. To change the subject, he pulled out a gold card with no limit. Whatever you want, Dad can give you anything. He didn't care about these things. Right now, he was thinking about the word that guy had said. The moment he thought of it, he almost wanted to punch Jin Xiaojun. That's right, Hong Qibin was provoked by Jin Xiaojun's one-sided comment. Jin Xiaojun's home. Weekend. Jin Xiaojun was doing his usual diligent deep cleaning. For him, cleaning was a form of rest. He was a true homebody, and he cleaned very meticulously. Jin Xiaojun's dad said he was too perfect. So-called rest should be sleeping in and rolling around in bed, then binge-watching all the videos you haven't seen, or opening a bag of snacks. Lying on the sofa, laughing out loud while reading comics, and wasting a whole day. That's real rest. People need to be lazy sometimes. Try to let yourself be lazy. When Jin Xiaojun saw the potato chips almost fall on the floor, he complained that you shouldn't lie down while eating snacks at tea times like this. You're exactly like your mom. Oh, there's one more thing where you're just like your mom. You go after what you want with all your might. Usually, you seem to have no desires and aren't greedy, but once you set your sights on something, you go for it without hesitation. Jin Xiaojun asked, is that so? Don't you remember? When you were little, you kept pestering us for a younger brother. Later, when you saw we weren't moved, you ran to a friend's house and refused to come back. You turned their house completely upside down. Jin Xiaojun said he didn't remember. It's normal not to remember something from 10 years ago. Do you remember why you stay at that friend's house? At a cake and coffee shop, Jin Xiaojun's mom was very proud. No matter where she went with Xiaojun, everyone's eyes would fall on the handsome Jin Xiaojun. Such gazes made her feel very proud, and she would even show off her son everywhere. Mom looked very happy. Although at first glance, my mother and I seemed to be a mother and son with completely opposite personalities, I think I understand what Dad meant when he said I was like my mom. It's just that the incident from my childhood is quite shocking. This show still feels strange to me, but at least it's not like before, where I felt indigestion. After Jin Xiaojun parted with his mother, he received a message from Liu Qian asking him to come over to his house. In the evening, an overworked Wu Shani kept making mistakes at her part-time job. She not only put the wrong vegetables, but also miscalculated the price. She took the initiative to apologize to the female boss, and knowing she had made too many mistakes, she offered to forego her pay for the day. Instead, the boss held her hands, worried she might be sick. It's all because you don't eat properly. Look at your arms, they're just skin and bones. The boss still paid her for her work and hoped she would go home early to eat and rest. Working part-time in this condition would only cause trouble for others. Wu Shani canceled her evening part-time job. Suddenly, a call came from Jin Xiaojun. Her thoughts in a jumble, she just stared blankly as the phone rang. She only snapped out of it after the call ended. Not answering it, she actually felt a sense of relief, guessing she was overthinking things. Just then, she noticed someone standing in front of her. It was Jin Xiaojun, who had just called her. She thought she was dreaming. It's really him. What do I do? I'm still holding my phone. No matter what I say, he'll think I'm making excuses. She flusteredly explained to Jean Xiaojun, "Your call just now? I was actually going to answer it, but I don't know what happened. By the way, what are you doing here?" Wu Shani ran into Jean Xiaojun on her way home, curious as to why he was there. He explained that he went to Liu Can's place to play games and was on his way home. That's so. To hide the fact that she didn't answer his call on purpose, Wu Shani changed the subject. Oh, why did you call me? Is there another sale at the supermarket? No, I just suddenly thought of you. I wanted to call and see what you were doing. Jean Xiaojun noticed Wu Shani's pale face. He also knew she had been to the nurse's office yesterday and was worried she was sick. Wu Shani suddenly felt a dizzy spell. She only just realized the ground seemed to be spinning. Seeing Wu Shani with her head down, he thought, could she be having an anxiety attack? Let me see. She didn't know how to react. She stared blankly, letting him touch her chin. Jean Xiaojun reached out, lifted Wu Shani's face, and slowly leaned in. Under Jean Xiaojun's intense gaze, a subtle atmosphere developed. Folks, are you hoping he kisses her? That's impossible. Jean Xiaojun turned her face from side to side. Your lips have no color at all. They're even turning blue. I can't see clearly. Turn this way. Do you need a paper bag to breathe? Wu Shani said, I need a paper bag. He was just about to take a paper bag out of his pocket for her. Before he could take it out, Wu Shani vomited all over Jean Xiaojun. Half an hour later, Wu Shani brought him to her apartment. She washed her vomit-covered hands. She shouted at Jean Xiaojun, who was hesitating at the door. Jean Xiaojun, hurry up and come in. I'm the only one home. It's okay. He didn't want his first time visiting her home to be like this. He turned and said he could go to Liu Qin's place to clean the vomit off his clothes. Wu Shani grabbed his clothes with one hand and pushed Jean Xiaojun into the bathroom, telling him to take off his dirty clothes and change. Waiting outside the door, Wu Shani said, that's the largest size among all my clothes. You should be able to wear it. She really didn't want Liu Qin to know that she had vomited all over Jean Xiaojun. After all, it was very embarrassing. She felt really sorry toward Xiaojun. Jean Xiaojun could only obediently do as he was told and take off his dirty clothes. While doing so, he observed the surroundings in the bathroom. On the sink counter, he saw only one set of toiletries. He remembered hearing Liu Qin misspeak before, saying that she lived alone. It seems she really does live here alone. After changing, the collar of the shirt was a bit tight on him. Wu Shani didn't expect it to still be too small. This shirt was huge on her. She apologized in shame for causing trouble because of her upset stomach. Xiaojun didn't mind and was only concerned if she was feeling better and if she still had symptoms of dizziness. Wu Shani said she wasn't dizzy anymore and didn't feel uncomfortable at all now. She offered to wash the clothes before returning them to him. Thought it's fine. I already washed it a bit. I'll be heading back now. She didn't understand why Jean Xiaojun was in such a hurry to leave, as it was already so late. Do you have plans with someone? No, not really. I just think it's very late. It's not appropriate for me to stay in the home of a woman who lives alone. Wu Shani was stunned for a moment, lost in thought. Before closing the door, he didn't forget to remind her, remember not to open the door for strangers. Even after going downstairs, he worriedly looked back a few times. This is an apartment building. There should be security cameras, right? Now, he finally remembered wanting a younger brother as child. He would run to the neighbor's house and bring their little brother back to his own home. When he wants something, he goes for it without hesitation. The unwell Wu Shani, with a helpful spin from Xiaojun, put on an unexpected fountain show. Helpless, Shani could only bring him home a change. At the same moment, across the way, Liu Qin and Xiao Hao were playing at home. Liu Qin's mom asked him to come over for a chat about Shani. You and Shani get along well, right? If so, that's a good thing. Liu Qin didn't know why his mom suddenly brought up Shani. He replied that he was indeed very close with Shani. Liu Qin's mom said she always respected his choices, that if it's something you feel is right, don't hesitate. Your thoughts can change with experience. If something you were once so sure of now confuses you, don't be too hard on yourself. What's important is that the belief you had at that time was sincere. There's nothing wrong with that. The next day at school, Jean Xiaojun told Liu Qin, Shani really does live alone. He had heard Liu Qin say it casually before and thought it was a joke. Liu Qin was surprised and asked how Xiaojun knew. Xiaojun explained that after leaving his house, he ran into Shani and went to her place because of something that happened. Something gently stirred in the most stable corner of Liu Qin's heart. You went to her house? What? Xiaojun just looked at him with a probing gaze and didn't answer the question. Coincidentally, a classmate returning from the snack shop came in to measure the air conditioner. It broke the awkward, intense atmosphere. Meanwhile, Shani, the young lady of the Wushan group, was picking up trash. Because of the rain, the drain was clogged with garbage. Hong Chi-bin had been observing her behavior for some time. She was clearly a rich young lady, yet she was doing this kind of work. Shani's declaration of breaking with her past self could be set aside, but what couldn't be avoided was the reason she was picking up trash and working part-time. She couldn't fool him with the excuse of volunteer activities. Hong Chi-bin really couldn't understand her actions. Shani retorted, "And you think you're not puzzling? You specifically transferred to our school to watch me pick up trash? Stop playing tricks like you did when we were kids. Put your energy into what you're supposed to be doing." Hong Chi-bin suddenly leaned in and whispered to her, "Right now, I'm putting all my energy into the ugly Wu Shani." Shani reflexively picked up the tongs and pointed them at him, signaling him to stay away. Shani asked from her soul, "Hong Ji-bin, do you like me?" He replied decisively, "I don't." Hong Ji-bin had never formally confessed to her. He would absolutely never confess. Shani was utterly perplexed by his behavior of sticking to her all day. Although Hong Ji-bin spread rumors everywhere that he was Wu Shani's boyfriend, when Wu Shani asked if he liked her, he firmly denied it. The afternoon air was stagnant like a warm tide. The history teacher's monotonous lecture seemed to weave a soft lullaby in the classroom, pulling Wu Shani into a state of drowsiness. Just then, a small mirror was held up. Through the physical principle of light refraction, the mirror reflected the scorching afternoon sunlight onto Jin Xiaojun's face. Xiaojun followed the light and, as expected, saw it was Hong Chi-bin's handiwork. Like a mischievous child, he kept shaking the mirror to provoke Jin Xiaojun. Towards this kind of childish behavior, Jin Xiaojun could only ignore it. Suddenly, the drowsy Wu Shani's hand slipped, just as her head was about to hit the desk. Two tall, handsome young men stood up in sync, causing the whole class to turn around. Why did the two of them stand up during class? Jin Xiaojun and Hong Chi-bin exchanged hostile glances for a moment without a word. In the end, neither of them managed to stop Wu Shani from hitting her head on the desk. Ever since Wu Shani started following her doctor's advice and taking anxiety medication daily, she yawned all day and couldn't stop. She even kept dozing off during class. This time, her part-time job was to help deliver fruit to a kindergarten. At the same time, she remembered the awkward scene when she last saw Jean Moya's younger sister. The sound of running footsteps came from behind. She turned her head to see two men in sunglasses and suits, like Black Panthers locking onto their prey, swiftly pouncing towards her from the side. Then, a high-pitched female scream filled with extreme terror rang out. This scene happened to be witnessed by Jean Moshi. She immediately found a kindergarten teacher. She almost roughly grabbed the teacher's wrist and started running, placing all her hope of saving Wu Shani on the teacher. Suddenly being pulled into a run, the teacher couldn't help but feel confused, asking if there was someone outside. When they ran to the kindergarten gate, they only saw a cart loaded with fruit. Jean Moshi, who had run out without even putting on her shoes, didn't see Wu Shani. She was instantly dejected for not being able to save Shani in time. In the evening, Jean Moya told their mother about what happened with her sister Moshi in the afternoon. Her sister had suddenly run out of the kindergarten and stood there, refusing to go back inside. Their mom impatiently responded that she didn't want to care about these things. Just give her a cookie. Jean Moya watched as her mother only cared about her own work, completely ignoring the feelings of the two sisters. Although she was used to this, she still hoped the adults would change. Looking at the worried Jean Moshi, who was constantly biting her fingernails, she believed her sister must have encountered something frightening. She was so tired of holding everything together by herself. She couldn't help but lose her temper at her sister. Every time she saw her being silent and just biting her nails, she felt extremely frustrated. Not wanting to deal with anything, she laid her head on the desk, sulking. Meanwhile, Hong Chi-bin, who hadn't been to the bar in a long time, was being pestered by a crazy female fan, expressing how much she missed him. The fan wanted to take him to a place where it would be just the two of them. To talk intimately, he glanced down, his eyes washing away any trace of calculation. "Don't project your desires onto me." Hong Chi-bin, annoyed, swung his arm and shook off the fan's hand. Even so, the female fan didn't give up, instead admiring his decisiveness. The female fans all knew he wasn't a fish that could be easily hooked. It would only work if he liked the other person first. If a girl confessed to him first, he would be very disgusted. After school, Jean Xiaojun and Lu Can went to a burger joint to order food. Jean Xiaojun said that their recent conversations had not been pleasant. Lu Can, however, thought it was his imagination. "Yes, that's so. I feel like it only becomes like that when we talk about Shawnee." He suggested they ban any discussion of Shawnee for the day. But Lucan felt that Jean Xiaojun really knew how to hit where it hurts, always striking people with the truth. Lucan also didn't understand how Shawnee always ended up in their conversations. The stubborn Xiaojun retorted, "Didn't we agree to ban talking about Shawnee?" Lucan became anxious. He hadn't agreed to that. He wanted to know if Jean Xiaojun liked Shawnee. Xiaojun, however, tried to brush it off, vaguely expressing that he wanted to take care of Shawnee. Jean Xiaojun unexpectedly turned the question back on Lucan. "What about you? Do you have someone you like?" At this moment, Lucan wasn't clear about his own heart. Wu Shani's attending physician examined her body. She had fainted from excessive shock. It was likely due to overexertion, combined with the side effects of her medication, which caused her to enter a state of temporary hypersomnia. Imu and Yaina both blamed the uncle. They had clearly asked him to invite Shawnee back for a meal, but instead, she got a scare. Imu and the others decided to wait for Shawnee to wake up before coming over. Yaina hadn't expected Shawnee's condition to be so severe that she needed anxiety medication. On the surface, her uncle was indifferent to Shawnee, but in reality, he knew her like the back of his hand. He had even specially hired an attending physician for her. The next day, Shawnee's eyes shot open. She smelled a familiar scent. The bed she was lying on was so soft, she didn't want to get up. In an instant, she was wide awake, wondering where she was. The familiar outline of the walls, the familiar furniture carried a strong scent of home. Her gaze swept across the room. The navy blue solid-color curtains were ones she had picked out herself. She suddenly realized it was her room. Yaina tried to open the door as quietly as possible, but she woke Shawnee up. Yaina was immediately startled. Shawnee questioned Yaina, asking if she had contacted the uncle to do this. Shawnee knew Yaina's personality and didn't believe her words. Yaina explained with a wronged expression that, knowing her temper, she wouldn't possibly cross that line again. She even had to gain Li Yuan's trust to confirm it really had nothing to do with her. Only then did Shawnee believe it was true and forgave her. Shawnee remembered she had to go to school today and asked what time it was. It was already past school time. Shawnee instantly lost her composure. The main point was that she was already late. She frantically wanted to go home to get her school uniform. Yaina immediately took out a prepared uniform, telling her not to worry. Li Yuan had also informed the school. Even though she was reluctant, she had no choice under the circumstances. Yaina hoped Shawnee would eat some breakfast before going to school and promised not to cling to her when she left. Looking at her expression, Shawnee couldn't bear to refuse and agreed. Because Shawnee was visiting, Yaina had made all of her favorite foods. Since Shawnee had moved out, for her, breakfast was just rice or soup. This luxurious breakfast banquet was too extravagant. She felt it was too wasteful. Yaina grabbed a section of Shawnee's hair. She didn't want to style her hair, thinking it was fine as it was. Yaina really couldn't let her go to school with a triangle-shaped hairdo. She had to straighten her curly hair. The flat iron worked its magic. Yaina mentioned that she used to always straighten her hair while she was asleep. And with this naturally coarse and curly hair, plus Shawnee's lack of interest in her appearance, Yaina tirelessly did her makeup and picked out her clothes. "You were so beautiful back then. It's heartbreaking to see you now." Before Yaina could finish, Shawnee's expression changed. She grabbed her school bag and rushed out, not even looking back. "What should I do? Thank you for the breakfast." After the candid photos of Chi-bin were uploaded online, they went viral. Wow, the number of likes is insane. To think they're not taking pictures of Shawnee. The students at that school probably don't know that Shawnee used to be a legend. Shawnee's current image, Sai? That hairstyle is the root of all evil. A triangle kimbap head with coarse, naturally curly hair. Meanwhile, Shawnee rushed back to school. The students who saw her were all stunned. The class president, who was walking towards her, was about to greet Shawnee. The class president didn't react for a moment when he saw her. The moment she pushed open the door, the eyes of the entire class fell on Wu Shawnee, and Hong Jibin also stared intently at her face. "Shawnee, I have something to tell you." Shawnee turned around impatiently. Don't say anything. I'm super tired right now. Your hairstyle is hilarious. At this, the whole class burst into laughter, mocking her for being late because she was getting that funny hairstyle. Wu Shani was still in a daze, not understanding what they were laughing at. Jin Xiaojun turned on the mirror function on his phone and let her see what she looked like now. Huh, what is this hairstyle? She knew that the hairstyle Yaina had done for her was only half finished. Back at home, Yaina was restless. The hair was only half done when Shani suddenly ran out. She didn't even have time to tell her. She could only go to the restroom to wet her messy hair. Using the hand dryer that was previously attached here was already a common occurrence for her. After restoring her original hairstyle, Shani put on gloves and prepared to clean up the trash. Hong Chi-bin complained to his followers that she was late, which shortened the time he could see her. Shani felt that because of him, she seemed to have returned to a few years ago, especially when he waited for her at the restroom door. But I was happy waiting for you. However, the process of waiting for you to come back after disappearing for more than half a year was not great. During that time, I also tried to like other things, but they were all boring. Wu Shani lowered her voice and called his name, Hong Chi-bin, and walked up to him. Didn't you say you don't like me? If you don't like me, then why are you so persistent in following me? This version of Hong Chi-bin is too strange. The corner of his mouth lifted slightly. Yeah, it is strange. What's wrong with me? Want to find out the strange reason with me? Shani was a bit frustrated. He was truly unreasonable. She warned him not to follow her. Hong Chi-bin didn't follow, not wanting her to see his face, which was now slightly flushed just because she had suddenly leaned in close. In the evening, Shani took a part-time job as a waitress at a barbecue restaurant. Her diligence and earnestness earned the owner's approval and liking. Shani's clear voice rang out, "Welcome." The new customer was surprisingly Jin Xiaojun. So much had happened recently that she felt inexplicably awkward. Jin Xiaojun said he came to eat with his father. To make up for her guilt, she wanted to give Xiaojun some extra side dishes. Just then, the next customer came in. Xiaojun called out, "Dad." It was Wu Shani's uncle's personal lawyer. Jin Xiaojun gestured for his father to find a seat. He was just about to introduce Wu Shani to his father. Like a startled bird, Wu Shani rushed out without a word. Immense confusion and unbelievable panic instantly overwhelmed her. Could it be that Xiaojun already knew? She didn't know that the company's lawyer was Xiaojun's father. She was afraid of Xiaojun's gaze, afraid of the scrutiny in that gaze. She couldn't face it, and she dared not imagine Xiaojun's reaction after learning the truth. Extreme panic washed over her like a cold tide, driving her to just want to escape that place. Her legs could no longer support the heavy secret and helplessness. She suddenly squatted down on the flickering street corner. At this moment, she was curled into a ball, looking exceptionally small and fragile, like a lost child, isolated and helpless. The sound of hurried footsteps approached from a distance. It stopped at the edge of Wu Shani's blurred hearing. Jin Xiaojun, without even catching his breath, anxiously squatted down in front of her. Lucan watched as Hong Jibin beckoned to him. After a moment's hesitation, he walked over. Hong Jibin's eyes were sharp and hostile. He got straight to the point, asking for his personal information. In fact, Hong Jibin had already seen through Lucan. He saw the feelings that even Lucan himself hadn't yet realized. He warned him directly, "Stop trying to get close to her. Keep your distance." Hong Chi-bin suddenly took a step closer, carefully examining Lucan. He was surprised to find that his face was quite handsome. He felt annoyed internally. One Jin Xiaojun was already enough of a headache. He really didn't want another potential rival. Lucan pondered these words, not quite understanding them. On the weekend, while organizing clothes, his father found a fishing association t-shirt belonging to Xiaojun. Xiaojun, who was working out, quickly explained that he had borrowed it from a friend. His father told him to remember to return it on Monday. A light bulb went off in Xiaojun's head. This was a perfect excuse to see Shani. He immediately grabbed the shirt and went out. At this time, Wu Shani was at the rice cake shop. The master craftsman was teaching her all the secrets of pan-frying rice cakes that he had spent his life perfecting. He greatly admired her diligent and down-to-earth attitude, always reminding her to take a break during her free time. Now, almost everyone in the entire area knew this hard-working and serious girl. She didn't dare to let herself rest for a moment. As soon as she was idle, her mind would fall into a chaotic mess of thoughts. Her two best friends, after much effort, finally found out where Shani was working. To see her, the two of them pretended to run into her by chance and came in to order a plate of stir-fried rice cakes. Shani silently made an extra large bowl of Odin and placed it on the counter. With a cold expression, she said it was on the house. She told them to finish eating and leave quickly. Seeing her tough on the outside, soft on the inside demeanor, they were moved almost to tears. Although they only saw her for a moment, they still had countless questions but didn't dare to ask. They were afraid it would backfire. After all, even someone as persistent as Hong Chi-bin hadn't been able to get anything out of Shani. To find out the reason for Shani's departure, Hong Ji-bin went to her original home again. As soon as he saw Miss Tao, he praised her profusely. With an IQ over 150, she passed the level 6 exam and got into the country's top university. After that, she easily graduated from a famous university abroad and even holds a doctorate in a certain major. But no matter how much he flattered her, Miss Tao remained tight-lipped. After that, he turned to Li Yuan, but he was equally unsuccessful. When Shani got off work, her boss, satisfied with her performance, gave her a little extra pay. During this time, she had been diligently saving money, even starting to feel like she was rich. So she decided to treat herself, well, over the weekend. For dinner, she would make stir-fried pork with chili and have a hearty meal. She skillfully marinated the pork slices. While waiting for the flavors to meld, she took out the trash that had accumulated over several days. She loved this busy and real feeling so much. Just then, a message came from Liu Kan. "My mom is asking if you want to come over for dinner." She replied that she had already made dinner and wouldn't be going. Immediately after, a message from Xiaojun also came in that, "I'm on my way to your place to return your clothes." Liu Kan was curious about what had happened between them. Shani replied that she had just lent him a piece of clothing. When Xiaojun saw that Shani hadn't replied, he sent another message. Liu Kan couldn't help but ask, "How did he end up wearing your clothes?" Shani was suddenly a bit flustered, explaining that she had gotten his clothes dirty, so she took him home to get a clean one. She knew Liu Kan had a good impression of Xiaojun and was afraid he would misunderstand. She casually said that Xiaojun was almost there and asked if Liu Kan wanted to come see him too. At that moment, Liu Kan suddenly understood the vague feelings that had been lingering in his heart. It wasn't about Wu Shani at all, but about Jin Xiaojun. How could he be so stupid to only figure it out now? Shani saw him standing there in a daze and looked at him with confusion. Liu Kan's throat tightened. He managed to squeeze out, "It's nothing. You can go." He went back inside, feeling more and more frustrated the more he thought about it. He was so stupid. It turned out he liked Shani. Liu Kan was alone in his apartment. He clearly realized the feelings he had developed for Shani. Her image occupied his thoughts, bringing a mix of apprehension and unease. He repeatedly pondered how to face these feelings and how to interact with her in the future. Hong Ji-bin returned to his villa. He asked Miss Tao and Li Yuan about Shani's recent situation, but still learned nothing. They remained as tight-lipped as ever. Since Shani's parents passed away, the atmosphere at home had been oppressive. He couldn't keep asking, but Shani's current state made him worry. He originally thought she had just gone abroad to study. It wasn't until he overheard his mother talking with a friend that he learned the chairman and his wife of the Wushan group had a car accident on their way to find their daughter. Hong Chi-bin stood frozen in place, utterly shocked. Meanwhile, Xiaojun was waiting at the street corner for Shani to come get her clothes. Though he appeared calm on the surface, he was actually feeling a ripple of excitement about seeing Shani soon. Shani came running, apologizing for possibly making him wait long. Xiaojun replied that he had only taken one subway stop, so it wasn't a bother. Shani felt that he could have waited until Monday and didn't need to make a special trip. Xiaojun said bluntly that it would mean not seeing her for 2 days. Shani still had 2 of his shirts. He could have returned them anytime, saving the subway fare. Shani felt she had done so many things to wrong Xiaojun. Speaking of meat, Shani suddenly remembered the pork belly stewing at home. "Xiaojun, do you want to come to my place for dinner before you go?" Xiaojun snapped his fingers in front of Shani and suddenly became serious. He warned her that as a woman living alone, she should be more cautious. She shouldn't casually invite people into her home, and she shouldn't even trust him so easily. Although Shani thought he was being overly nervous, she still accepted his reminder. The next moment, Xiaojun took a step forward, suddenly closing in and trapping her against the wall. She instinctively put out her hand, her palm pressing against Xiaojun's chest to stop him from getting any closer. For some reason, she felt a little scared. Xiaojun asked softly if she understood what he meant. Shani's palm clearly felt the beating of Xiaojun's heart. The next second, Xiaojun immediately stepped back, resuming a polite distance. A passing sanitation worker mistook them for arguing and kindly offered them 2 drinks to make peace, also complimenting Xiaojun on his handsome looks. Xiaojun apologized for scaring her. Shani said she understood. He was just reminding her to be careful. But a question arose in her mind. She didn't know how Xiaojun knew she lived alone. Xiaojun calmly mentioned that he had noticed only 1 toothbrush in her house. Shani nervously fumbled with the bottle cap. "Then aren't you going to ask me why I live alone?" Xiaojun easily twisted the cap open for her. "Oh, you want me to ask you why you live alone?" Shani was silent for a moment, then answered softly, "No." Meanwhile, Hong Chi-bin still couldn't accept the story that Shani's parents had a car accident while out looking for her. He muttered to himself, refusing to believe the rumor, and bit his lower lip. Shani returned to her apartment door, lost in thought while waiting for the elevator. She remembered how she had calmly told Liu Kan, "I live by myself. My parents have passed away." Yet she found it difficult to say the same to Xiaojun. She didn't know when it started, but she could no longer treat Xiaojun casually. Their interactions had become somewhat subtle and difficult. Just as she was about to reach her door, she suddenly saw Hong Chi-bin standing there. She rushed forward angrily, demanding to know how he found her address. Hong Chi-bin said he had known for a long time and had been holding back from crossing the line. Shani quickly entered her password, blocking his view with one hand. She demanded that he continue to respect her boundaries and leave immediately. But Hong Chi-bin insisted on coming in to sit for a while. He slammed one hand on the edge of the doorframe. Before Shani could stop him again, he forcefully squeezed his way inside. Shani panicked, her voice filled with alarm. "Who let you in?" She repeatedly called his name, but Hong Chi-bin acted as if he didn't hear, walking straight towards the living room. In her haste, Shani grabbed the back of his shirt tightly. However, she pulled too hard. Hong Chi-bin lost his balance for a moment and his feet slipped. With a loud thud, he fell backward, hitting the floor hard. Shani was frightened by the sudden turn of events, her face pale. She immediately knelt beside him, her voice full of panic. "Hong Chi-bin, are you okay?" She reached out her hands, but didn't know where to touch, afraid that he was seriously injured somewhere.